You're watching Fanboy Versus with your hosts, J.D. Church, Chris McFeely, and Chris Triplett.
And you are listening to Fanboy Versus. I'm your host, JD, joined, as always, as usual, every week by Chris McFeely, Nicole, and Chris Triplett. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all this week?
Good.
Pretty good.
Excellent.
Surviving.
It is Fanboy Versus pre-booster, I guess.
Fanboy Versus number 51.
51. It is 51.
51!
Yes. So we are over the...
I only remembered it because last week was 50.
Yes, it was last
Yeah,
week.
we
Yeah, I totally like...
We didn't even realize till we were over.
I know, at the end of the episode, I'm like, oh, this was 50.
It's a good thing we had Fear itself last week.
I know.
Yeah.
We were so
That's a good one.
in the grip of fear itself that we forgot that it was episode 50, which was awesome. Before we get too far, I'll go ahead and mention the thing that had us squeeing a bit after the show last week, so we can kind of talk about it and we'll move on.
Yeah.
But so wrapped up the show, and it turns out that at some point Gail Simone tuned in. So listened to the show and made some comments. Apparently was very happy with McFeely's take on Ragdoll. So
Put the message on my Facebook after the fact. I lost the power of language for a couple of seconds.
I wish I could have been there. McFeely, speechless, really.
It wasn't so much speechless. I was still, me, I was still trying to make noise. It's just the words weren't coming out. It was the general
Awesome.
reaction.
the interesting bit to me is we've had an ongoing question on this show, which is what is the dialect of Ragdoll? And she kind of answered that question. I like her
American
answer.
has a faux affected British accent, like Madonna.
Like Madonna. That was my favorite. Like Madonna. Yes. So I'd say that you were sort of right then. McFeely.
That made my Sunday.
Yeah. So it's really cool. So we thank her
I was
for...
wired after that. I couldn't go. I just stayed up like
I
an
don't
extra
believe
fire.
it. That's awesome.
That's really cool.
I
And,
need
and
to
that,
go to bed,
that-
but I stayed up till like 2 in the morning.
and we fawn a bit over Gail's work and
She's amazing.
because she's amazing, and it's totally not because we knew she
Careful,
was listening to
guys.
the show at all. I mean, it's like that's we just honestly think that she's awesome. So, and I normally don't read Birds of Prey, but I was going to pick it up because I knew it was like a one shot with Catman, and I went into my shop this week, and he was like, "Yeah, Diamond didn't send it to us. We'll get it next week."
Oh.
So we'll see. We'll see if I can get that maybe next week. So
I need to pick that up. I've not read a single issue of Birds of Prey. I want to, but
we read it, and McFeely and I read it when the arc before the last arc started, and it just wasn't. I think our consensus is that we just didn't have the background to make it.
it was a different tone from Secret Six.
Oh, it's
right?
very different.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's a very
I
different.
wouldn't expect the same tone from Birds of Prey as I would from Secret Six, but it never clicked with me for whatever reason.
Yeah,
The only
like
reason
I
I
said-
was interested in is I got a friend that he just loves it. He just talks about it all the time and read every single issue.
lot
I
of
was
people
like, I
do.
need to pick this
Yeah,
up.
and that's why I say I think it's just I didn't read I need to get the trades of everything before, and then I can be invested in the characters, and I think then it would be good because it's just without that I kind of I don't know why I'm supposed to. So, yeah, like I said, I think that's just an artifact of coming in too late. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I know a lot of people love that series and really like it. I wanted to pick up just this one issue just because of Catman being in it, and I've heard it was really good. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was great. So
We definitely thank Gail for her kind words and hope that any of her followers that might have tuned in as a result of her pimping us enjoy the show.
Yeah. Thank you.
Speaking of pimping, again, we thank anybody who's joined us through our new Twitter feed, which is at Fanboy VS. So if you're following us through TF Radio, follow us on Fanboy VS as well. And I'm going to be you will be putting out stuff that's more in line with what this show does. So I think I'm going to be pumping more like comic book news.
We're all
kind
grown
of
up.
stuff. So yes, we're officially
We're our
own
own
Twitter
person.
a show. So it's kind of an experiment, really,
so fast.
because with the TF Radio Network, we only really have one Twitter feed and one Facebook page, and I know there's a lot of shows that have separate. So this is kind of an experiment. We want to see what it's like to have a separate feed for a separate show. Are we going to get the same amount of followers? Different? Is it going to be able, are we going to be able to do different things? So we'll see how it works out. You let us know. I mean, do you like having a separate feed, or would you rather just have the one Twitter feed? So we'll see how it goes. You let us know. So anyway, news. There's just a little bit of news. What do we have going on, McFeely?
Well, you tell us that first story that you were talking about there in the pre-show, because I don't know.
Why not? So, okay. In case you've been living under a rock, for the last several years, there's been an ongoing legal battle between Warner Brothers and the families of Joel Shuster and Jerry Siegel. They are the creators. Huh?
Sorry, I thought you said something else there for a second.
No, I don't think so. Turn it off the screen. I'm not, Anyway, they're the creators of Superman.
I was doing my hair.
So it looks so much better.
Sunday night, don't care.
So, they're the creators of Superman.
Feels watching.
We all know how much I love Superman. But anyway, they're the creators of Superman. The families are essentially have been battling Warner Brothers over the rights to Superman. And I think this has gone back and forth for like 13 years. It's absolutely ridiculous. So much so that 5 years ago was it that they had the whole Superboy controversy, and they had to like advance age Superboy Prime up so that they could use the Superman's name instead of Superboy, and that's why Connor dropped out for a while. Anyway, it's just been going back and forth. So this week, the latest blow came to Warner Brothers, who I think had won the last. I mean, basically, it's just been a back and forth. Warner Brothers will win a case, a piece of the case, and then the Schuster and Siegel family will win another. But this week, what happened? Essentially, Warner Brothers has been trying to get unsealed a set of documents that they claim shows that the creators were going to relinquish their rights to Superman to Warner Brothers upon their death. And the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has decided that they are not going to allow those documents to be unsealed. They're currently sealed documents, but they're not going to allow those to be unsealed. That means they're not going to be admissible in the case, and that means that it basically is going to make it hard for Warner Brothers to make their case to retain those rights. Now, as far as what's going to happen after that, who knows? Warner Brothers is right in the middle of making a Superman reboot. Obviously, Superman is a big part of their DC franchise, so who knows? I think I heard someone jokingly saying that they would make Superman public domain, which would mean anyone could publish Superman comics. So I mean that would mean that DC could continue their Superman stuff, but then Marvel could have Superman as well as anybody else. So
Marvel had Superman. It was called the Sentry.
Yes, and he was terrible.
Go there.
He didn't fit in so well. He died.
Yeah, he died. He died a lot. So and came back a lot, and hopefully he's still dead. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting, just because I've sort of been peripherally watching this go on, just because it's such a. I mean, it's a really iconic character. It's a big character for DC. It's one of their original characters, the original character. Mm-hmm. And, if they lose rights to it, wow. I mean,
that's gonna...
That would
Can't
be
see it
huge.
happening.
I don't know. I mean, they've had it for so long. And yet, the thing is this predates some of those 1976 copyright laws. So it's one of those deals where conceivably you could see the courts finding in favor of the families, so...
I mean, wasn't there like something similar years ago with Captain America and Marvel and like the families of his creator and whatnot? Wasn't there something similar with that a couple of years ago?
Vaguely, I remember something like that, but I
Remember
think
Some of Kirby's family came out of the woodwork to start demanding money for his creations in the last year or two as well.
yeah, and
But then that's the case is far less concrete there because that was work for hire anyway.
Yeah, and I think that, most companies and that time, like past the 40s into the 50s and 60s, they had the smarts to, you sign stuff that says anything that you create, is ours and that sort of thing. So, but this obviously would have been way before that. So, anyway, interesting. So, other news, not a lot of news. I guess I could run through the news since I've got it all pulled up in front of me.
I thought of something, and I'm not sure if this is actually happening or not, but I read somewhere that one of the next DC animated projects was going to be The Dark Knight Returns. Is that fact?
I think I've
Yeah,
heard
but
that.
we knew about that for a while. Oh no,
But
sorry, no, that was year one, was it? Hang on.
Well, we were saying year one, but it seems like I read somewhere that like sometime after year one, DC has said that they're gonna do Dark Knight Returns. Don't know if it's true or not though, so I don't want to talk about it if it's rumor, but I read it somewhere.
Yeah, I heard that as well. Well, before that, though, later this year we get Emerald Knights. That's in June. That's the Green Lantern anthology movie. Quite looking forward to that. Then after that, we get the year one. Then after that, it was announced this week we're getting Justice League Doom, which is going to be a loose adaptation of the JLA story arc, the Tower of Babel, which will be. Yeah, that was written by Dwayne McDuffie before his death, so this will be his last work.
Oh, that based on
the Dark Knight
Mark.
Returns.
That's the story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one.
It's a story where Batman rules over everybody, so it is a Dwayne McDuffie sort of story.
Nice.
And that's what's happening there.
Wonder Woman apparently has shorts.
Yay!
So, according to the CNN report, I guess that they were talking to the creators, and apparently she's going to have several different versions of her outfit.
She's going to have blue boots also.
So I guess there's going to be the blue boots
are.
and the red boots, and there's the long pants and the long pants with the stripes, and then
She's
shorts.
a girl. She's got to have a wardrobe. Goodness.
Yeah, it can't be just one set, apparently.
The shorts
Scuba
will be
suit
laughed
Wonder
off, that's great.
Woman. Scuba suit Wonder Woman. Lightning armor Wonder Woman.
Armor. There you go.
Arctic armor Wonder
Dude,
Woman.
Arctic armor.
If they had a Wonder Woman like with the armor from Flashpoint, now that would be kind of awesome. Even in
Well,
a
that's a
flashback.
given. If they make a Wonder Woman toy line, not that I'm saying that they will, but if they ever did, you'd certainly get plenty. There's one set of armor you could get away with. It's some of that golden Grecian armor with all the animal shapes that she often wears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of which, I'm looking forward to some of the. I may actually get some of these Flashpoint figures because that Wonder Woman Flashpoint figure is bound to be awesome with all the armor and stuff. Yeah, good stuff. Anyway. Let's see. And let's see if I can say this right. Michael Clark Duncan.
Good
I
job.
looked better the other time you
Trouble
said
with that
it.
pre-show. It's going to be voicing Kilowog. What do we think about this?
Yes, that is awesome.
awesome.
Do you like that?
awesome.
Okay. I think I had.
I'm a fan of Michael and I'm a fan of Kilowog, so there you go. I like it.
Yet another
It's
actor
great.
who played a Marvel character crossing into the DC universe. So
I'm sure I could find a DC character he's played before.
you think?
Oh
so?
yeah, I'm sure he's probably done voice work at some
Well, I
point.
mean, but on the
so-
big screen. But I guess since voice, nah. I don't know. I had said Michael Chiklis, and I think I got my hopes up. So,
To be honest, I think I'm a little bit more behind Michael Clark Duncan.
yeah, I think that'll
Yeah.
be good. I just want to hear him say
I didn't
poser.
envision him as doing the voice, but I don't know. We'll see. It'll
Yeah.
probably turn
I
out
can
pretty
definitely see it.
Yeah, I just want to hear him say poser, and then we'll
good.
see.
He's a pretty big comic fan anyway, isn't he? I mean,
I think so.
Yeah.
Actually,
personally, I think I think I read that somewhere, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So
Cool.
That's awesome anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point we should have heard more about who's voicing what, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
These
those are
decisions always seem to be made very late.
those are the only two. Well, that's late production.
Yeah, Jeffrey
stuff, too.
Rush and Michael Clark Duncan.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be afraid of saying that wrong now that I've screwed that up.
I'm kind of surprised they haven't like just totally revealed like everything to us. I mean, like the movie's coming out in what 2 months?
Not even that. It's like.
But they do those.
Is it?
Yeah.
2 months. Thor's out in 2 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
3 weeks.
Man.
3 weeks for you. Well, not even previews in the UK. Easter Monday.
Yeah.
What was that?
You
I
could
didn't
thank
hear that.
Kenneth Branagh
You were
for
breaking up
that.
there.
I don't know if there'll be any previews in my local cinema, but if there are, 8 days. Thor.
I think we're pretty fired up. Yeah. It's good stuff.
I was just saw a trailer on television for it just before I came on the show, and it was all, and there's a destroyer walking about in bits I haven't seen before. Yeah.
You need to go to the showing all dressed up like some super comic nerd with the hammer and the hat.
Are you kidding? He's always dressed up as a super comic nerd.
Like
What are you
day-to-day
talking
wear.
about? Look at him now. I mean, it's... Anyway, and we'll be talking about more Thor with Journey into Mystery, I assume, later in the show.
Oh, yeah.
So, awesome. I think that's all the news really worthy stuff.
There's one bit of news I want to touch on briefly,
Okay.
which is that this week it was confirmed that, to the surprise of nobody, sadly, that Tokyo Pop closed.
Oh, yeah. I think I heard about that.
Founded 1997, premier manga publisher for a good number of years. Really, one of the driving forces in the big manga boom of the early portion of this past decade. They have quietly been, they've been going through troubles over the last couple of years. A lot of staff were laid off, and Kodansha didn't renew their contracts with them a couple of years ago, so they lost a lot of the books that they had, including my Get Backers. I need somebody else to translate that, please, so I can finish reading that. And coupled with the fact that Viz is the company that has all the manga that everybody actually wants to read, Naruto, Bleach, Fullmetal Alchemist, Death Note, etc. It has closed its US publishing now at this point. So that's a shame. To the surprise of nobody, but they had 6 staff members left at the end. And,
wow.
And did the earthquake have anything with putting the kibosh on that completely, or?
No, I don't think so. It really was it's just been it's been a steady wind down. They've had, I can remember not so very long ago when the Tokyo Pop section of previews would be pages and pages and pages, and it's about 2 pages these days.
Oh, wow. So,
Now,
they just don't have this stuff anymore.
I've heard of the company, but I don't buy big into manga. So is this huge? I mean, is this affecting lots of
No, you
fans?
see, the company has dwindled to such an extent that it's really not that huge, because it's more the significance of the fact that something so big and such a big contributor to the manga boom has closed at last. I think anybody that's been paying even the remotest shred of attention towards it will have observed the contracting of the anime and manga bubble. It's like the early half of this decade, manga was everywhere. You couldn't turn around. Every kids cartoon was dubbed anime, so everything was
still
shit,
is when I turn the TV on.
It's not. These days, there's been there's a big resurgence in original American stuff. We had what do we have? We had Turtles and Justice League fighting the good fight against the onslaught of monster shows and any random anime that anybody could get dubbed the first half of this decade. And then it was only in the last couple of years with like Marvel's assorted new cartoons, Spectacular Spider-Man, Wolverine, X-Men, Brave and the Bold, making an Avatar, of course, The Last Airbender, making big strides to finally, and then now what have we got right now? We've got all of these, we still have nearly all of those shows that I've just named. We've got the Avengers now as well, new generations of Ben 10, Generator Rex, Symbionic Titan, more's the We Hardly Knew Ye.
Yeah, so sad. I'm so sad to see that show go.
Let's not digress, but my point is that the manga and anime bubble has visibly contracted, and the big name Tokyo Pop just doesn't have the big name titles anymore, and it's no surprise to anybody, but it's a shame nonetheless. So that's that. I just want to highlight that. That's about it for news.
Awesome.
I think it was not much of a news week at all this week.
No, not a lot of actual, print comic news this week.
It was
I
an
guess.
actual comic week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got plenty of comics
Big
to talk
ones.
about for sure.
I got a small little stack here.
Yeah. More than we can get into. So maybe we'll do some sparring editions at least. We've got the final part of Batman and Robin. I don't think we'll talk about. So may want to talk about that for that.
I've got my little stack right here.
Oh man, you got to do some sparring editions for those. We'll throw them up on.
I know. I need to do that. Maybe I'll work on that tomorrow. Tomorrow's my day off. So.
I'm too sorry to do it.
Oh. All right. Well, fine then,
There's
Trippett.
not
Then you
too
can
much here
start
I
off and
want
talk
to
about
about.
comics.
We're gonna hit all the stuff I want to talk about
Yeah,
today.
I think
so
we'll hit
I'm
we're going to hit the highlights.
I can do a sparring edition of let's see, what's the crappy comic I read?
New Avengers. Currently-
Uncanny X-Men or something. I need to read
Uncanny?
like the
Oh,
last
God.
two years of that.
I don't know what I was saying to someone the other day. When it was about X-Men, I was like, no. So,
I'm going to get caught up on that, and then that will be the best episode of Fanboy Versus ever. Because I'll come in, I'll be like, this is what's going on now. Wolverine's like a woman, and like, Cyclops is like cut in half. You know?
Wolverine's decided he's going to be a loner on 11 different teams. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Wait for it, it's coming.
Oh, man. Okay, well, go ahead, Triplet. Get us started. What you got?
All right. This week I have read Ultimate Spider-Man number 157 and The Flash number
Yeah.
10. Oh, yeah.
Road to
I'm gonna-
Flashpoint.
I'm going to knock out Ultimate Spidey first because I like The Flash better.
Knock out, as in knock off, as in he's dying.
As in he's dying. Oh, that's right. It is Death of Spider-Man.
As in
And-
my arse.
Yeah, really.
I don't know how...
And how many people here believe that? Raise your hand. Exactly.
Okay.
I don't know. It's Ultimate Spider-Man. So as long as it's not my Amazing Spider-Man, I'm
Yeah.
perfectly fine with whatever they do to him. But this is issue 157. Do we know when the last supposed issue is supposed to be? Or the
I would
actual...
presume this is going to be 6 parts.
Okay.
But actually, come to think of it, I don't think it is because we've got, what month is this? This is April, so May, June. Didn't order at the end of this. Ordering Forge. Sorry, hang on, my brain is just working through this slowly.
The reason I was
April.
asking is because the way it ends, it just makes me think that next issue is it.
I think this might be a 4-parter.
Uh-huh.
I think that we've got the solicits for July, and Ultimate Spider-Man isn't on them. Ultimate Aftermath is instead.
Oh no!
Oh no, Spidey's on the cover there.
Hey,
Yeah,
But I'll tell you one thing though. Hey, Mark Bagley, check out that. That's a classic.
so
looking
true.
Oh,
drawing of
wow.
Spidey.
That is Mark.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh wow, that's pretty.
This
that's
comic
pretty.
looks like Mark Bagley again after last issue when we were going, I don't know, is it? Oh.
Yeah,
There's
last
something-
issue, someone's off about it, but this issue, it's like he's back. You know?
Not off bad, just off different.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. It's just that something about it didn't look right. But yeah, this issue,
Yeah.
it's like
This is Bagley.
it's 10 years ago or something, or whenever
He
Ultimate
just took an
Spider-Man-
issue to get back into the vibe.
Yeah. But so like this issue pretty much starts off where like the last issue, Norman and I guess the rest of their version of the Sinister Six has escaped from prison, and they're Norman of course is gunning for Spidey. He wants to kill him, and we find out in this issue that okay, so like Spidey got a call from Mary Jane, and Mary Jane told him that hey, Norman's alive and he's escaped from prison. Go and warn Aunt May and everybody because he's gonna come and kill them or something. So like Spidey's trying to decide what he's got to do. Is he gonna go help the Ultimates because they're fighting some fight? The Ultimate stuff, is that all taking place in like the Ultimate comics or something?
I'll tell you this now, okay? Because I leafed that before. I didn't get that. I just leafed it. I leafed it
Because I've
before I
not read
this,
any of
and
that. I have no idea.
This summaries. What does this summary say now? The Ultimates are in the middle of one of the biggest superhero battles of all time. No, Captain America is fist fighting Nick Fury.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
wondering.
Well,
There are
I'm
no
glad you said
big,
fighting.
towering infernos the way this thing is presenting them to be.
It looks like the
No,
bridge is
okay?
burning down
You're
from
fucking
like.
right it is, but no. That's not what is happening in Ultimates over in
I
the
thought
new
like
Ultimates
I thought like
miniseries.
Thanos was attacking like the bridge or something. I was like, what's he doing attacking a bridge? You know?
Biggest battle, my arse.
Is there something that like we're off an episode or an issue or something like the next?
No, these are generally supposed to sync up because, I'll not say it yet when we get to the end of this, but those two issues run concurrently with this because the last 2 pages of this issue happen on the last 2 pages of that miniseries as well.
I tried. I
This
so
week's
tried.
issue.
Did you see that? I tried to help, but it didn't. I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, and just no.
Well, I'm not going to read the Ultimates comic. I don't
Well, I'll
know.
tell you, but I mean, I didn't read it too closely, but carry on.
But
I mean,
okay,
I looked
so
at
like Spidey's trying to decide what he's going to do. Is he going to go and save Aunt May and Gwen and all his family and everybody, or is he going to go help the Ultimates? And then it switches scenes, and we find out that basically the Sinister Six guys are kind of this is like the perfect time for us to get out of New York because the Ultimates are busy. They won't come looking for us. And Norman's like, no, we're not going. What we were looking for is here in New York. And like, it seems like the biggest guy that's opposing Norman's decision to stay is Dr. Octopus, because he's basically decided, I'm done. He says, I'm out of this. He's basically saying, thanks, for breaking us out. Thanks for what you've done for us, but I'm not going to go and kill Spider-Man. I'm not gonna help you. And Norman's big response to that is smack. I'm the Green Goblin, and he knocks him out a window.
Wow.
And he goes crashing down. And I thought he was dead, but no, he stopped himself because he used his mutant power. I keep forgetting. God, Dr. Octopus in the Ultimate Universe, he's a mutant.
Well, he's not a mutant, but he got the
he controls
powers from the
metal.
explosion. But yeah, he turned out he realized that it wasn't that he had tentacles; it's that he was actually animating the metal.
Yeah, he's animating metal, so he makes like all the metal from like the street below to come up and forms his arm and screams Norman, and he goes after him, and they have a big old fight. So it's kind of a big old fight issue. It's,
it is very much.
Doc Ock versus the Green Goblin, and of course, Spidey decides, hey, I'm going to check out to warn Aunt May and Gwen Stacy, and he basically goes and he tells them that, hey, they know who I am. They'll come for everybody. They know where I live. They'll come for everybody, all my friends and loved ones. So you got to get out of town. And of course, there's the little scene where Aunt May's like, you can go with us, and Spidey says, no, I got to stay. Got to help them. And awesome little scene with Gwen where Gwen says, "Don't be stupid. Kick his ass. Nothing fancy." And she gives him a hug. So that was So, basically, it's just a big fight between Green Goblin and Doc Ock. And Green Goblin pretty much murders Dr. Octopus.
What?
No, pretty much, he does. This is
Yeah,
the death you didn't hear about in the previews. Green Goblin burns Dr. Octopus's torso off.
He punches his
He's
face.
dead.
No way.
Yeah. Like, there's this scene here where...
Wow.
where there's like something burning and it's Doc Ock.
I smell bacon. Why do I smell bacon?
And Spidey's like, oh my god, he killed him. Osborn actually killed, oh god. So like, yeah, he's dead. Doc Ock is dead. So like, when Doc Ock's dead, shit's serious. Something's going on now.
It's for real.
For real.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And yet I still don't believe Spider-Man's going to die.
No. Yeah. So you're still not convinced. Even with all that.
Just before we get to the finale now that comes on the next few pages, there's one thing that leapt out at me during the whole of this, where the other villains are watching Norman and Ock fight. And Craven says, "'Tis a blood feud." And it appears to me that Bendis has forgotten that the Craven he created, the Ultimate Craven, is Australian.
He's also a loser.
Totally. But he was Australian, and he's writing him like regular Craven with the 'tis a blood feud.
Well,
Like,
you
things
know,
like
Bendis,
regular Craven would say. But he was
Bendis
an
is only
Australian
writing-
reality TV show host when he was
When
introduced.
he started, he was basically the croc hunter. Wasn't he?
Crocodile
Just was
Hunter,
looking,
yeah.
Yeah, he was looking for like some big game to fight, and then Spidey like it's basically one punch knocks him out or something, right?
Yeah,
Bendis- but
figured he
look-
had superpowers.
But
That was
Bendis
complete-
writes,
Yeah,
like...
I mean, that was the story arc. It was called Double Trouble. It introduced Dr. Octopus, and Craven was just a threat brewing in the background that Spidey didn't actually have any aware of. He arrived in New York to all this fanfare. Reporters asked him, "What are you going to do with Spider-Man?" "I'm going to find him, and I'm going to kill him with the bare hands." You know, he actually with WIF, with me bare hands. I actively remember that's how that sentence was written, because that's when you first really realized he was Australian. But then it's like Spidey beats Dr. Octopus after an issue-long battle. Craven appears, full lion's mane vest regalia, one punch, boom, flies back, crumples against the car, unconscious. Spidey looks down and goes, "Huh. I figured he had superpowers or something." And here you've got this Russian Shakespearean, "'Tis a blood feud." It's a blinding blood feud, mate.
Well,
Whatever happened to Ultimate Craven?
yeah, but Bendis only writes, like, 5 issues a month. I mean, he's bound to get confused.
He's getting confused with the other Craven,
Yeah.
right?
I just get distracted by that.
Yeah, because Craven's actually in New Avengers.
Yeah,
now,
Craven's-
flashbacks.
Craven's-
So that's
yeah,
what it is. He's
Craven's
getting
in the
what
good
it is,
half
yeah.
of New Avengers.
so the New Avengers Craven's probably going to be Australian.
there you go.
Right?
That's bound to be it.
Fighting Nazis.
I'm gonna get some Nazis and put them on the Bobby.
Get that out if you want.
There goes all of our Australian listeners.
I know, they're gone. Sorry, Australia. Sorry to both of our listeners from Australia.
So do we want to spoil the ending? I mean,
Well, it's in New Avengers versus New Ultimates as well, so I think we may as well.
okay.
But spoiler alert on this one.
Yeah, spoiler alert. So, like, Spidey goes looking for, Norman Osborn after finding Doc Ock's body. Those guys are gone.
Sidebar, though. The preceding 19 pages have absolutely sweet buggery all to do with the last 3 pages of this comic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
There
nice.
you go. Pretty much. Yeah.
Everything
'cause, like,
interesting happens. Then
'cause, like-
Spidey swings over to the bridge. And then
yeah,
this
like,
happens.
out of nowhere, Punisher. Where's Punisher been in this storyline? I've never seen him in this storyline. Must be in the Ultimate comic that I'm not reading or something.
Yep, that's exactly where it is.
So,
Well,
so Punisher's got a sniper rifle trained on Captain America's head, and
Yep.
Spidey sees it, and Spidey can't stop him, so he jumps in front of the shot, and oh my God, Spidey's been shot.
And he's so not going to die. Okay.
Look at that.
Okay, so do you think the purpose of them putting the Punisher in is because he has a big series coming out in a couple months?
Not
But
really,
that's
no.
not the same Punisher, is it?
Ultimate Punisher, after
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
But Punisher has been hanging around the Ultimate books since Miller revamped him. He brought him in the second Ultimate Comics Avengers miniseries, and as I haven't been reading the Avengers New Ultimates versus miniseries at the minute very closely either. But I happened to leaf the issue while I was in the store before I went home with Ultimate Spider-Man and read it. So when I got to these last 3 pages, I was like, "Oh, shit! I saw that already."
They
It's
should have
like-
they
they
should have
don't
just
even
recycled
line
art,
up.
too.
I mean, they don't even line up, though, because if you read this comic first, where it's a super-duper, oh my god, last page shocker,
Yeah.
you've just got 3 complete non-sequitur pages that mean nothing in the context of this comic alone. But if you read the other comic first, then the super-duper, oh my god, 3 pages of silence, dramatic ending in this one is completely neutered, which is the experience I had, because you know exactly what's going to happen. These things don't complement each other well at all. And also,
in,
that
like, the
bullet has
old-
clearly gone through the fucking meat, and he'll be up and about in 5 seconds.
Yeah, I
again.
mean, Amazing Spider-Man got shot like that, last month or 2 months? And he was like,
like
5
2 weeks
minutes.
ago, he got shot through there, and he was like, "No, I'm fine, I'm fine."
5
And all
minutes
through
later,
that-
he's like still looking for the bad guy. He's like, "No, I'm good. It's just a flesh wound."
Credit this in this light.
Well, clearly, Ultimate Spider-Man is not Amazing Spider-Man. He's not amazing.
He's ultimate, but not amazing.
He's ultimate, but he's not
better.
amazing.
So on the scale, we would say that amazing.
Amazing's right here.
Ultimate's
out
somewhere below that. Okay, good to note.
Spider-Ham's right here. Ultimate here.
So
here.
amazing, Spider-Ham, ultimate. Okay. We're spectacular in there? Is that...
Spectacular goes with amazing.
Okay, so it's amazing, spectacular,
Amazing,
Spider-Ham.
sensational, spectacular, Peter Parker. You know, it's right
Right, okay, good.
here. Friendly neighborhood. It's right here.
This is the kind of important information and learning that you get from Fanboy
now
Versus.
here's the challenge for you. Put the girlfriends in there.
Oh God, what about Spider-Girl? Is that was...
Well, Gwen Stacy's up here until she falls down here.
Right. Oh,
no.
We went there. Okay. Anyway, any last thoughts on Ultimate Spider-Man?
It was okay. Next issue is teasing that his final hours. That's why I was thinking maybe it's the next issue that's last. But I don't know. There it is.
That's
It's
cool
his final
background.
hours. Come on. We've had comics that went for like 5 months that took place in the course of 3 hours. So,
This is, I think, it's a solid issue. A bit of an extended fight, and it's nice that you could actually be surprised by the one death that they didn't trail in the solicits. But it just really has the wind taken out of it in those last 3 pages because they come completely out of nowhere and have nothing else to do with anything going on in the comic. And if you're reading New Ultimates, you see where everything else that they're doing besides that doesn't line up with the way they're describing what's going on in this comic. There's an air of disconnect about this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like if this is like the last Ultimate Spider-Man story, it doesn't feel like this is a very good story going on. I mean, it's great.
It doesn't feel big.
His greatest villain is back, and actually, his greatest villains, all of them are back, and they're all involved in it. But other than that, I mean, it doesn't feel like, I don't know. Maybe something's gonna happen. I mean, there's got to be something. Something's gonna happen that's gonna kind of shake it up. So we'll find out.
Hopefully.
On to better comics, I think, which is the Flash. Flash is back.
Road to Flashpoint. Yeah, it is.
Flashpoint. Who is Hot Pursuit? See last issue because it told us.
It basically told you.
That's exactly what I thought when I looked at the cover.
Who is Hot Pursuit? If you read last issue, you already know. So,
I didn't. So
well, you know who he is, but you don't know
What
he
he is.
Right, what he is, where he
True.
is.
The metatextual.
Right, and that we learn.
So I'm assuming you guys you read this, right?
Yeah.
Are we like totally on board for Flashpoint? We're like reading every issue now, and you can't wait.
I'm kind of excited. I mean, because what have I been chiming for the last few weeks? That I wanted Flashpoint to involve the multiverse. What did I get? Just a
multiverse.
Taste of multiverse. Yes. Thank you, Jeff Johns.
Because we got a reference back to those 52 Earths.
Yeah, remember those that we haven't talked about in like forever?
Yeah.
But I still can't say for certain we'll see the multiverse involved. I mean, well, to cut this short, as we learned last issue, Hot Pursuit is Barry Allen from a parallel universe, and he's come through to this universe because something is going to alter the history of this Earth. That's what Flashpoint is about. It's just about this Earth being altered. The only reason he's come back is because this Earth is the keystone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the.
It's like their worlds will be changed if this Earth is, but
if this Earth something happens to this Earth being changed.
That's the plot of Flashpoint. It's not multiversal.
Right, and it's
that we know of. It may turn out to be, but it's like I don't.
Well, and I love this Barry Allen though because I love the Hot Pursuit in that sense because it's not so much that he cares a lot about like this Earth, but the most important thing to him is that this Barry Allen is the generator of the Speed Force, and he needs him to be around in order to have his powers. So
he's got a motorcycle that he uses, which he has no powers.
Which is totally not like Tron at all.
No.
Definitely not like Tron.
I had a customer groaning and grumbling about Hot Pursuit's motorcycle, and I was like, why? It's awesome.
Light cycles are awesome.
It's like he took Ghost Rider and the Flash, and you put them together.
You take Ghost Rider and the Flash.
Not even
and
the
Tron.
look is the thing. It's just the fact, the idea of the idea with Hub Pursuit's thing is but this Barry Allen doesn't have powers, so it's his cycle that actually runs on the Speed Force.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty freaking awesome, to be honest. I think it's a really great, nifty twist on the idea.
And his motorcycle turns into a nightstick.
No, it's stupid. And it turns into a nightstick. Like, what is that even?
Yeah. Random. But, I mean, apparently he's a cop, because he's got the red and blue on his shoulders and stuff.
That we think he's a cop.
Oh, he could be.
I don't know.
Anyway, Kid Flash shows up. And says some things. I don't know. I mean, otherwise, it's a lot of talking and not a lot of stuff.
It's kind of talky.
Say a lot of stuff is kind of this issue, all right? It's a very talky issue.
Yeah. Which
not a lot of forward motion on this issue, I must say.
Yeah, there seems to be there seems to be a bit of reminding you of things like, oh yeah, this Kid Flash is from the future, and you know,
they're kind of playing up that maybe Barry isn't too keen on Bart, or at least that's what Bart thinks. You know, because Bart thinks that maybe Barry didn't come to this family picnic because of Bart, which is weird. I've never. I mean, have they mentioned something like that before? Where Barry's
not in.
Well, Barry's never known Bart, you know. So
yeah.
And
never him currently.
We do find out that so Barry does doubt. Hot Pursuit. That he may not be Barry, so he actually steals one of his hairs so that he can kind of run tests on it. And we do find out that it's a 100% match. You know, he's not.
What a shock! I absolutely required that.
Yeah, we really needed that extra page or so.
That. Yeah.
We gotta make sure that he's not like, I don't know, Professor Zoom or somebody in disguise. I don't know.
Yeah.
But a character shows up, and I do not know who this character is. McFeely, do you know who?
I have no prior association with her, but he talked about her last issue, so that's how I know who she is.
I didn't know if maybe she was a character from like old.
I would assume she is, because you don't dedicate a full page height splash to introducing her if she's not somebody. But
it's like, hey, Patty's back. That's great.
Yeah, that would have had to have been pre-crisis, right? I mean,
well, it's Jeff Johns, so presumably.
Yeah.
I don't know. He mentioned her last issue anyway, so I knew who she was when she appeared. But.
Okay. And so, like, the issue basically continues. There's we haven't forgotten the murders. There's like the murders where the elongated. Yeah, I know you have, but the comic hasn't. And and basically, people are being murdered. Where it's like their time is being stolen. Like a man, they find the second victim, a man who's like 30 years old, is now like 90 or something, and he's like died of old age. And what we find this time though is they find tracks leaving the body, and the tracks, it's a motorcycle track. Bum bum bum. And even more, there's a witness this time. A kid was left behind. Ooh, I don't know if you can see that.
So, interesting information, but not a lot of substance, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the weaker issues of Flash of late.
Yeah. Not that last issue was that amazing either, but I think that this seems to be a lot of the setup stuff for Flashpoint. So.
See, but you say that, but really? I mean, okay, yeah, we're not there yet. We'll see when it happens. But this seems to me to be as much prelude to Flashpoint as the prelude to the death of Ultimate Spider-Man was prelude.
Yeah.
Which is to say, we've announced that it's happening, so we're going to label the couple of issues that are coming out before it as prelude to it, even though they don't have anything to actually do with it.
Yeah.
I mean, although this is, to be fair, this does because Hot Pursuit is hinting at it, but frankly, I mean, I think this will probably just conclude with Hot Pursuit getting booted back to his own timeline next issue, or maybe the issue after. I'm not sure. Well, not sure exactly if we're due one or two more issues before.
It's 13, right? Is 13 like the last issue, I think?
I have no idea. Flash is running so out of sync. with everything now. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know how
kind of
it speaks
behind. I think it's the one that Johns is like writing last of all of the stuff that
out of
he's
everything
writing.
that he's doing.
Which, if it's a true time storyline, it needs to be out of sync. Everything
Yeah.
needs to be out of sync if it's a true timeline. It's an altering story thing.
One way to look at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's just
but
like
Flash
a
is
little.
okay. Yeah.
There's just a little bits like this is who Hot Pursuit
Okay.
is. Oh yeah, remember that Bart is from the future. You know. Oh yeah, remember that Barry generates the Speed Force. You know, things like that. That if
Yeah,
you're
it's very talky, re-establishy, not much actually happening.
Right,
And
and
I
that's
read
where
some
I'm-
other pretty talky books this week that were better than this.
Yes, that is true. So, anyway, anything else on Flash?
That's it.
No. Awesome.
Nope.
Eh.
Good. Yeah.
All right, Nicole.
What's there to say?
Yeah. It's the
Okay.
Flash. That's it.
And
Nice
for
art.
Flash, one of the million flashpoints coming ahead. So,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but I'll only be reading Flash and Booster, which is all I'll need. So
I gotta read Citizen Cold.
maybe Wonder
Eh.
Woman.
All right. Well, for my first one, I'm introducing yet another new series because
Hooray!
I know because I'm a sucker for this particular author. Dean Koontz has a new comic book out called Nevermore, and so I saw
even
his
know
name
Dean
and I'm like,
Koontz wrote comics.
he doesn't. Apparently, I'm thinking
That's
this
what I was
might.
going to say. Is this a Dean Koontz comic in the same way that The Dark Tower is a Stephen King
I
comic?
don't know because I've never heard this as a story from Dean Koontz. The Dark Tower is it's the story put in comic book form, which I, absolutely adore.
Well,
But
what
this
did
is
the
something
credits
new.
say?
Huh?
Does it credit Dean Koontz as writer or just like
Yeah,
a DM?
Dean Koontz is the original story. So this is an
There we go.
original
Who's
story
the
by
scripter?
Keith Champagne.
I've heard that guy.
Yeah, illustrated by Leno Carvalho. And I'm going
heard
to
of
mention
that guy.
and colored by Steve Downer because let me tell you, this has some wonderful colors in it, so I'm going to give him credit for it. But as for the storyline goes, you open it up and you see this team of 5 people getting to go on this important mission. They're like, this is really happening, all of our research. You can tell they're scientists. They're very well fit, so they're part of this crazy team. And then all of a sudden you just see them go into this flash. They're going through all this pain, and all of a sudden they're gone. Then you come to find out they are in this like futuristic world, and they're trying to. It doesn't tell you right away what they're there for, but they go on this little mission. They get into a lot of trouble. It looks very futuristic, but then you come to find out it's not the future. It's just a parallel Earth. So they're not time travelers. They're interdimensional travelers. And so this was their experiment that has gone correctly after I forgot how many years of trying to put this together. But the main guy, Bobby, right? Yeah, Bobby. He quit school right after high school to live his dream of making this happen, and he quit with his wife. And so they're the ones that built this empire. It's kind of like almost like a Sue Storm, Mr. Fantastic kind of relationship. And then you come to find out when they get back to the future, back to our, not the future, present time.
Right, Scott.
It's not time travel, it's interdimensional travel. They brought back this piece of equipment so they could actually trace someone. And they've come to find out they're trying to trace Bobby's wife, Nora. And so they find her, and then they go back into the other dimension to pick her up. And then they also have flashbacks of Bobby and Nora and their relationship when they were back in high school. So yeah, you get some flashbacks here and there and how they got engaged. But when they go back to get Nora, they actually travel to another dimension, but they're able still to find this other Nora. But then when they come back to our dimension with the Nora, they brought something else back, and boom, 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 the world is in peril with a bunch of aliens. So
Aliens.
yeah, so if you like sci-fi, not like dimensional stuff, this is such a good read. There's a lot of twists and turns. There's one big twist. I don't want to give it away though, because I want to actually pick up this series. Like I said, I'm a sucker for Dean Koontz. The artwork is absolutely amazing. The coloring is great, and you can't beat a robotic cat. Come on, look at that
Robotic
little kitty.
cat.
How cute is that?
Heck yeah.
Little
No, you
robotic
can't
kitty.
eat robotic cats.
Yeah,
See We 3, which is awesome.
yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, it's a bunch of like little sci-fi twists and turns. I think this is going to be good.
I've only
Again,
read one book by Dean Koontz in my life.
oh, which one was it?
It was a children's book called Oddkins.
Oh, okay. It's probably the Thomas series. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
But-
okay. I'm the
Yeah,
first person
so-
I've ever heard of it. So.
I love Dean Koontz. So the thing
Well, I was
is,
getting that.
one thing I
Read-
like about Dean
Read
Koontz is
books without pictures? What?
I don't understand.
I know. They used to do it like that. I don't know why
No,
anybody would bother.
I like about Dean Koontz is he can write romance into anything and not make it cheesy. This is like there's some romance in here that I think a lot of guys would like. It gets kind of emotional at some points, but like I said, there's a twist there. So there is the very first Dean Koontz Nevermore. So go for it. I recommend it. Again, but I'm a Dean Koontz fan. Oh, talking about Dean Koontz, if you haven't read anything, I read Life Expectancy. Nothing like crazy circus folk. Yay. Okay, on my next review, it's G.I. Joe Cobra / Civil War. It's kind of a dual opening comic for the next two series are out. Okay, so there's going to be Cobra and Civil War. They're going to be coming out end of this month and beginning of May. So this is your introduction here. Now, if you guys don't know what happened at the end of the last series, I'm going to spoil it for you. It's been 2 months, okay?
That's enough time.
Yeah, Cobra Commander is dead. He
No!
he
Was a man.
was what's bad. Yeah, so he is dead, gone, and
I know comic book Cobra Commander has never been written with that cartoon voice, and yet that's still how I imagine everything that he says in the comics sounding, and it still works.
I do too. So in the beginning, you're introduced to a brand new Joe team. You don't know who any of these people are, except for Barbecue. Barbecue's the only one that is in this team that's going to search out this area where Cobra has completely cleared out. And they're trying to find out, why did Cobra want this town cleared out? What was their point? What's their agenda? And
Was the
so-
town called Springfield?
Oh my gosh, can you believe that?
Just asking. You know?
You know? And so they're wondering, this is just an ordinary town. Why would they want to do this? And so they pick up a trace and they hear a bunch of noise, and it leads them to the town. Okay, cinema. I always want to say theater, sorry. And so they go in there and they hear a bunch of talks, some talking and everything. They've come to find out it's just a movie playing over and over again. Well, guess what? They're just like, okay, well, let's just shut this movie off and get on with our stuff. Well, shutting off the movie was a trigger to get rid of the team. So this first team that you're introduced to, bunch of red shirts, except for Barbecue. What happened? And how ironic is that? Barbecue dies in a fire. Pretty much.
What?
I see what they did there.
Oh, that's.
So, and then you come to find out it is Craig who is the mastermind behind this operation. So that's the first story that you see in here. And then the second story, you see Vargas on a airplane with some sinister man, telling him what's going on, but not all the details. So he's flown into Japan, and where he's meeting up with a bunch of people that come to realize, oh, they're on screens. Why would you want to fly me all the way over to Japan just to have a bunch of on screen? Okay, because you have the Baroness on screen. So let me just show you a little bit of there. So you got the team, and they want this doctor to check out to make sure, to prove to everyone Cobra Commander is dead and gone. And then Baroness comes on and says, okay, now that we've proved that he's dead, I'm issuing you a challenge. We need to replace Cobra Commander. So here it is. Baroness is putting it out there that who could ever kill the most Joes within an amount of time is going to be the new commander.
Okay, that's actually awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you get these big wigs that you've heard of. You've got, of course, the Baroness. You've got Major Blood. You've got Tomax, Oda Centauri. You've got all these big names, and they're just like, what's the point? And of course they're thinking, okay, Baroness, you're up to something. You're doing this for your good. She's like, well, that's the part of the challenge. She's trying to be the good girl, saying, no, that's not for me. But of course, it gets everyone's gears grinding and out onto the field. Okay, it's on. But also, you get one of my little favorite. You got Serpentor in there as well.
Oh.
So
Yes, I come on.
Yeah.
and then, of course, he comes in, and he's like, there's one of the best lines. It says, how can you have a funeral without a holy man? Yes.
Because Serpentor is not like the clone of Genghis Khan and Julius Caesar in this continuity, is he?
Is he just a dude or something? Is that all he is? Just some really smart guy or something?
He's... I can't really...
I can't accept a Serpentor that's not got the DNA of Sergeant Slaughter. I'm sorry.
He's can be a little bit more complex than what you guys know him as. So he has almost that Bane from Secret Six kind of feel to him.
But he's like some kind of like Cobra priest or something, isn't
yeah, so he thinks he's a holy man, but he does it for his own good, basically. So,
He'll be saying in the chat that he used to be a clone in the old comics, but I don't know if he's talking about like the Marvel.
Oh, that must have been a lot older comics than.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And-
that's the 80s origin.
And then you come to our third little story, where you see a bunch of Snake Eyes apprentices just totally slaughtered out on the field. It's a little bit graphic there, and they're wondering what is going on. Snake Eyes is you can tell he's upset even though he doesn't talk. And
It's because he's doing this.
Yeah, of course, Scarlett's doing her thing of interpreting for him, and they've come to realize there's two other people that took out this team of Snake Eyes ninjas apprentice. And then, okay, one thing I love about this comic, check it out. Cobra ninjas and trouble bubbles. Can you see that?
Nice.
How do you not like the trouble bubbles?
There better be some trouble bubbles in G.I. Joe 2 or I will not go see it.
I know.
It's one of the least ridiculous of Cobra's ridiculous armaments. You could get away with it, if you needed to.
But then you come to figure out this is all a setup, and someone, our little Kalika Khan, I can never say that wrong. He got a little heads up, a little inside of what the goal was to get to be this Cobra commander. So he's already had a head start. Him and Krang are already in the head start for being the new commander. Now this is what's
I
cool.
don't know who the characters are.
Yeah, so this is going to so you're going to have all these huge Cobra villains at each other. This is going to be so fun. Sorry. And then I can't wait to see them all go at it. And they have if you get this series, you can see the little previews of the covers. I don't know if you can see that or not with each one of them. Each different one of them holding the Cobra Commander mask, wanting to be the next commander. So
They all have to put that voice on if they become.
Yeah.
Cobra.
You
Yeah.
have to,
this is going to be so fun to see all these villains go at it together. So good old Civil War. Highly recommend it. Again, great artwork. Mike Costa, you won me over with Joe. Now work on Transformer.
Nah. So am
Who's
I
on the art for that one?
Well, it depends on which one. There's Javier Saltaris, Antonio. Antonio.
Ghost Rider? Is that the Ghost Rider guy?
Yeah, that's the guy.
Awesome.
Yeah. Then Antonio Fuso and Augustine Padilla are the ones that are. So they got 3 different artists on here. So
Am I reading the Ron Hasbro property comic? I'm reading ongoing.
By
Should I be
Mike
reading
Costa.
this is wonderfully written. I mean, I wish this would come over. I wish you could see how good Snake Eyes looks in here. I mean,
Cool.
it's just beautifully drawn and colored. I mean, yeah. If you want Hope and Mike Costa, pick this up. So, it's gonna get good. I could tell. I hope Baroness wins.
Oh, that would be a funky Cobra Commander, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
That's like 3 funny voices rolled into one.
But I just like all the different covers that they're going to have with all the different villains holding the mask and stuff. It's going to be so fun. So, yay.
awesome.
That's it from me.
Very cool. Very cool. Very nice. Well, it's a booster-filled week for me, as next week will be. Yeah, we didn't mention. Yeah, Booster's going to be on Smallville next week. So
Yes.
if you have not seen the preview, for next
Jeff
week,
Johns is writing it, and
Yep.
Blue Beetle's going to be in it, and he looks like a demon. I think he's actually a villain because he looks so scary.
Yes.
You know?
But man, that Booster ad that they had, the ad for Smallville next week is it's just like that Booster commercial, and it's hilarious. It's just
Well, I will watch it, but don't expect a glowing review. Because I'm
Nah.
sure we'll talk about this next week.
yeah.
we
we'll
will
talk about it
have
a lot
to
next
devote
week, so-
at least a couple of minutes.
Come on,
to that.
it's the Booster spelling with the S as the $sign. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, that's just
Yeah, that's
awesome.
kind of, yeah.
You know, because the current booster, which I'm going to talk about now, the current booster tag is the OO as infinity because Booster's more of a time traveler now. But back in the day, Booster was much the entrepreneur, if you will, and he was all about the Benjamins. So, anyway,
That's what it's all about.
that's what it's all about. But anyway, let's talk about current Booster Gold. Issue 43, the last issue of Giffen and DeMatteis.
Woohoo!
Do
No, sorry,
not
wait, I apologize.
let the door hit you on the ass on the way out.
So does this issue answer all of our questions? Does it resolve everything? Are there any loose ends? I have
For the
to know.
Giffen and DeMatteis run, what loose ends?
I don't know. I haven't been
Jesus.
reading it.
No, the only thing that they've set up, and I don't know if I reviewed Booster last month, but the only thing that they had set up was that Booster went to prison to pay his time for stealing all his gear in the 25th century or 26th century or whatever. So when he did that, he met up with this guy that called himself the Perforated Man, and he had what he called chronal leprosy, which caused all these like temporal portals to appear on his body, and he just kept shifting through time, but he did it instantaneously. So he was like spending one moment in one time period, one moment in another, but it didn't seem like he was going anywhere. But every time Booster touched him, he would like travel with him. Well, it turns out that Perforated Man was actually Booster from the future. And
no.
it was his future. He had been infected with the chronal leprosy by that Nazi guy that was in a few issues ago. And anyway, so Booster in this issue goes to the 31st century to meet up with the Legion of Superheroes to get help from Brainiac 5. Does anybody read Legion of Superheroes?
I hear it's okay. I wanted to read it. I just didn't pick it up. Too many books. Too many books.
There is a lot in there.
The old the Legion that Mark Waid did a couple years ago, I loved. I really like that. But this new Legion, I've not read
I
much
don't
of.
know. McFeely's back. McFeely, does anybody read Legion of Superheroes?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think really only the people that read Legion of Superheroes are the people that have always read Legion of Superheroes.
Okay.
I don't think they're growing their fan base.
Okay. Well, they take a big part in this particular issue of Booster Gold. Booster travels the 31st century to try to get his Colonel Leprosy healed. He comes in right in the middle of a battle with
I'm gonna creep for that.
Valdus. And he ends up trying to help because Valdus is about to fall to the ground and land on a bunch of people. So he uses his force field to try to stop the fall and gently put him on the ground. And it's at this point that the rest of the Legion of Superheroes decides that he must be a villain, and they beat the crap out of him.
They've never heard of Booster Gold because he never amounted to anything. He's not a history's greatest hero.
He's the greatest hero you've never heard of. And so they beat the crap out of him, but he drops Valdus, and then Valdus lands on the Legion hull and destroys a good chunk of it. So anyway, Brainiac 5 decides he's going to talk to Booster because they find out he's got a Legion flight ring and Brainiac's, force field belt, because these are two of, Booster's pieces of equipment. And there's a lot of typical Giffen and DeMatteis jokes in here. I don't know what this little blue blob thing is, but he smacks Michael around a little bit, which is kind of funny. Emphasis on kinda. Anyway, so he finally talks to Brainiac 5, convinces him that they're eventually going to be friends, and gets Brainiac 5 to agree to help heal his Colonel Leprosy, which he does, gives him his belt and stuff back, and sends him back to his own time. Now, as Booster's heading back to his own time, Brainiac 5 and one of the other members of the Legion are talking, and behind them on the wall you can see a poster, and as the poster comes closer into view, it's a missing person sign that says, "Have you seen this girl?" And it's Rani. So, anyway.
Remind me, who's Rani again?
Rani is the little girl that Booster saved from Daxam as it was being destroyed in the future.
Okay.
So she's that
In the
only
first
survivor.
issue.
Yeah, in that first issue, of their run. It is my guess that Rani is his future wife, but I don't know. I could be wrong. So we'll see. Yeah, which is kind of creepy, but Anyway, Booster has it out with Rip basically telling him, hey, you knew all this was going to happen, and Rip plays the, who, me? I don't know anything. But, Rip has a conversation with actually Brainiac 5 right after Booster leaves to make sure that the Colonel Leprosy has been cured, and basically tells him that Booster has some tests to come, and he needs to be ready. So, obviously, getting into Flashpoint here. And there's a great moment. As Booster's kind of bawling out Rip, and this is the main reason that I wanted to review this comic, as Booster's sort of bawling out Rip for sending him into the future for something that he didn't really have to, he tells him that he says, for the past few months, my life has felt like one of those god-awful stories they write about me. He says, you still licensing yourself to that comic book company? He's like, yeah, and I've got to tell you, since they switched writers, that book's gone straight in the toilet.
Oh.
So,
I saw that, but I did not laugh.
No, I didn't laugh, but it was nice of Giffen and DeMatteis to realize that they sucked.
If only I could actually acknowledge that that's what they were actually doing.
I think it was kind of
self-deprecating humor.
Yeah.
Wait, no, it actually did.
Yeah. I mean, they're trying to say basically that it wasn't that bad, but, there's nothing out of this run. I think if I'm right about the Rani thing, the only thing of note that will come out of this entire run is Rani, which probably wasn't their idea to begin with. So, So I don't know. I don't think that there's anything that worthwhile. I mean, basically, Giffen and DeMatteis are just keeping the seat warm until Dan Jurgens, the man, comes back.
Dan the man, Jurgens.
Yes.
So did they write anything, like, did they leave, like, something that's like, well, let's just, like, kill Booster Gold off in the last panel, and they, like, set it up so, like, Dan Jurgens has to, like, fix it or something? Did they do anything crazy like that?
No big FU like that. Thankfully.
They're not.
I love it when writers do
Yeah,
that.
they're not Grant Morrison.
It's like they cut him in half, and like half of him's a robot and half of him's like
Yeah, ripped his
or
arm
something.
off.
You know?
God, like a few years ago when he got like his arm ripped off and had to have like the containment suit and stuff. No,
There you go.
nothing like that. So anyway,
Okay.
good riddance, Giffen and DeMatteis. I'm sure that your runs on JLI back in the day were awesome, but that was back in the day. Anyway, on to Better Booster.
Yes.
Jen lost. Yes. So, Max Lord has unleashed thousands upon thousands of OMAX upon the world that no one else in the DC universe is even talking about.
We're so passionate.
Yeah. So, anyway, and they're all trying to catch Wonder Woman, but they don't know what she looks like, apparently. So, there's a lot of fighting in this, basically, back and forth. And the OMAX open up a portal, and through which Wonder Woman, Booster, Ice, Fire, and Blue Beetle get sucked through, I think. Oh, and Red Rockets. Or Rockets Red, whatever. And
Easily forget.
yeah, can't forget the Russian. Anyway, Power Girl, Batman, and Captain Atom get left behind, and they have no idea where the rest of the team has been transported to. Where the team has been transported to is where the giant checkmate flying tower of night doom thing is.
That's the technical name.
Yes. So that's pretty awesome. And of course, Dr. Ivo is still working with Max. He tells Ivo to drop him, is what he says, which turns out to be what he calls the OMAC Prime, which is this monstrosity, if you will. Cool thing about OMAC Prime, he's really big, really badass, and he has Max's voice. Not his brain, just his voice.
His voice. Okay.
So he sounds like Max, but he's not.
So he sounds like a used car salesman. All right.
Something like that. Yeah. But anyway, he mentions that Max probably thought that was intimidating. So they start fighting this OMAC Prime, who starts beating the crap out of them. And Booster decides that he's got to peace out because he needs to take on Max.
That's the best bit.
So, yeah. So he flies up and has a bit of an exchange with Max. Max saying something along the lines of threatening him was, whether Michael thought that threatening him would get him to stop. And he's like, no, I didn't hope I was going to have to beat like a damn dog first, which is awesome. Yeah. So basically the rest of the team is left to try to fight this OMAC Prime, who suddenly starts to manifest powers as he's fighting them. Turns out, he's got the powers of the JLI.
Oh, so he's like an Amazo?
Yeah, he's very well. I mean, he was designed by Ivo, who designed Amazo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah. So he's like a hybrid version of like an Amazo and an OMAC.
So he's an Amazo, but he's like a sucky Amazo because he's the jail.
He's an Amazomac. Yes. Yes. He's a second string Amazo-ish. So,
I have to say, I saw that, and the only reaction I really had was,
This is what it comes down to.
yeah. But anyway, the
OMAX
last issue,
again, really?
I know, more OMAX.
No,
OMAX
but just
are
like,
kinda-
a super OMAC
He's a
because what else have we got?
right. Yeah, I do have to say,
bit bummed by that.
I do have to say that was a little anticlimactic or underwhelming, if you will. I was hoping for something a bit grander, but we do have to remember that Max's whole thing is that he's anti-superheroes, so he's not going to use superheroes. He's going to use
use their
Androids,
pliers up, right?
devices and stuff. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. No one's made a lot
Just
of...
really looking forward to somebody punching Max Lord in the face multiple times.
That's
yeah,
coming.
especially Booster. I'd love to see
They're going to do
Booster,
that in the
but-
end.
It better happen.
Oh, it's coming.
You know, I don't want him to get away at the end or something. He's
Oh,
one
he's
of
getting
those
away.
smug bastards. And I want him to track him down. I'll punch him. I'll punch him. I'll punch him. And maybe do something to take his powers away. I want really satisfying resolution out of this, in which that smug bastard gets his face bit.
They're going to make up, and they're going to go have a beer, just like they did in the
Well,
old
that's
days.
probably how Giffen and Damon taste.
Yeah, that's what would have happened back in the day.
Yep.
But anyway, I don't know. I mean, it's not the big pumped up, like, get me ready for the end. I mean, it's, you know, you compare it to, like, The Brightest Day, like the last issue, you know, the issue before the last of Brightest Day, in which we were like, Swamp Thing, oh my
Next week.
God!
So
Last
no
week,
Swamp
next
Thing in Generation Lost. Oh
No.
my
Oh,
God.
It
dang
definitely-
it. We
it
need more
definitely
Swamp
wasn't
Thing.
It was like sort of on the verge of things maybe being awesome, but maybe being crap. So we'll see.
I believe Swamp Thing's unexpected appearance, JD, prompted you to check out the film this week.
I did. I watched I watched the Swamp Thing movie.
So that
yesterday.
movie pretty awesome, huh, JD? Huh?
my
You know,
God.
and I kind of said this on Twitter. The thing about it is that I think it was really ambitious in terms of like the script and scope, but it just did not have either the budget or the technology or both to make it really that good. Because man, you know, when you're looking at the Swamp Thing costume and it's like rippling and like, you know, you can see that it's like waterproof rubber as he's
I love
moving,
that costume.
you
That is
know.
so awesome.
Well, the thing is, when I watched it the first time, I watched it when I was young, so it looked real to me. So.
You know, and I have vague memories of
So-
watching it when I was
so
young, but
Did you watch the what was it, like a direct-to-video sequel or like the USA TV show and see just the difference? And then it's like, this kind of looks like Swamp Thing, where the previous one does not.
no, yeah, and I haven't watched those. You know, I've heard there is some talk that weren't they going to make a movie? I mean, I think there's talk about them doing a new movie.
Maybe that's why he's showing up again in Brightest Day, because, hey, maybe there's something in works.
it
That would
could
be odd.
be.
I think Swamp Thing is a property that could actually turn into something good if you put some money behind it.
I think so
that's-
too, and especially
One
with
of DC's better properties, you know, if they actually were to do something, big budget with it or something.
yeah, and I think it is one of those things that's going to take some money though. And like I said, this film was not bad from a script point of view. I think the script was good. I think it had some interesting elements in there. I mean, it's Wes Craven, so I mean, it's you
Yep.
know, it has a good basis, but it just did not have the script and things to really kind of to live up to what I think he was thinking. I mean, he's traditionally low budget anyway, but this was his attempt to try to make a bigger film, but it just didn't. There were just some things that didn't translate the way that I would have liked. I mean, glowing goo and I don't know. It was just kind of you know. Anyway, but yeah, I did watch that. It's on streaming Netflix now, so if you've got Netflix streaming, there you go. So, McFeely, round us out, sir. What you got?
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got two things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the first one pretty quickly, because I think I'm going to wind up spending a bit of time talking about the second thing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So the first, the first thing I'm going to talk about is Shield Infinity. Now, you guys know I've been talking about Jonathan Hickman's Shield pretty regularly on the show. 6-issue bi-monthly miniseries, which was to serve as the first volume of Hickman's latest finite ongoing concept. The other one being Secret Warriors, which ends in 2 issues' time. This is a one-shot. Hence the infinity label, complete with the infinity symbol in the issue box there, if you can see that in the video.
Cool.
4 short stories. It doesn't chronologically fall between the 2 minis, because the last mini ended with, let's see how best to... With the rival factions of S.H.I.E.L.D., led by Leonardo da Vinci and the evil timeless genius Isaac Newton, going to war, only for the glowing heavenly being Michelangelo to come down and try to call an end to things with the help of the son of Nikola Tesla.
That sounds awesome. Why am I not reading this?
Why indeed? You should pick this one shot up. So this is 4 stories. The first story, they're all written by Hickman, different artists on each. The first story, with art by Nick Pitara, is a story of Leonardo da Vinci. I've lost my place. Of Leonardo da Vinci telling a story to his students in the Forbidden City, the Forgotten City, which is the headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. under Rome. And this is an unashamed story where it is just all high concept and nothing else. You know, they try to talk a bit about it. It's a story about Archimedes. When I was tweeting about this earlier in the week, I mistakenly said Copernicus, but it's S.H.I.E.L.D., so it could have conceivably been either. But they try to text him right. He asks his students, who was Archimedes? And they say all sorts of things. But he says, yes, but who was he? Yes, but
Night
who
Owl
was
ship.
he? Well, in this instance, the high concept of this story is then told through a flashback. The Leonardo thing is just a bookends, in which Archimedes pilots the Colossus of Rhodes as a giant stone robot to fight a Kree sentry.
Sweet.
Wow.
There is.
I mean,
Awesome.
wow.
And that's just it. It is all high concept. There's a little missive from Hickman at the end of the comic here. Where is it? Just find it. I hope you enjoyed Infinity and getting a look at what goes on between the panels of the main story. A Kree sentry versus the Colossus of Rhodes. If that doesn't bring a smile to your face, then shame on you on your tiny black Newtonian heart. The second story is a mostly silent tale of 3 thieves who are hired or charged with breaking into the Forgotten City, where they find Nostradamus, who's chained beneath the city by Isaac Newton so that he can use his prophecies to shape the future. And they've been sent there by Michelangelo to do that. And then the third story, that's it, that's the second story. And then the third story is about how Michelangelo recreates Nikola Tesla as the Night Machine, villain of the series, and sends him on a mission to a hidden chamber full of what appear to be cryogenically preserved Hindi warriors of some kind. It's hard to say. We've seen this chamber before in the pages of Secret Warriors, so there is more overlap. Like Leonardo appeared in the last issue of Secret Warriors.
Is Hickman channeling the ghost of Grant Morrison? Like if he was dead or something? Because
maybe it's his ghost from the future.
From the future.
Oh.
Because Fantastic Four is like this way, and then like this book is like over here somewhere.
3 different directions. Well, the main purpose of the third story here, this sets up a plot point that occurred in the main S.H.I.E.L.D. miniseries, where the Night Machine had a key that he had to give to his son, which opened a door in the Forbidden City. So that this shows how he got that key. And then the final story is probably my favorite, actually, aside from the pre-century one, which tells the story of how Isaac Newton became a serial killer and ran around killing all of his great scientific rivals, leaving only a single apple as his calling card.
Sweet.
Wow.
It's like a 60s Batman villain or something.
Very much so. Isaac Newton is the villain of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's kept alive by the Infinity Formula, and he is plotting great evils. We don't quite know what yet, but he is at odds with Da Vinci, and they command rival factions within S.H.I.E.L.D. And this in particular is the story of how he goes after... Let me just remember who his name was, because I am not science. Gottfried Leibniz, who was a rival of him at the time. And we get little flashbacks to how he killed John Flamsteed, Robert Hooke, Blaise Pascal, and John Locke. Just like real rivals at the time, and like just tucked away in the corner of every panel is a little apple that he left behind as his calling card. Then he bludgeons him to death with a big heavy book of science.
Sweet.
Wow.
And those are the four. They're all quite. I mean, this is a $5 book now, and I got to say, you don't really get your content for $5. You get enough ideas to drive like 7 years of comics condensed into the number of pages. Let me just a quick go. 1, 2,
How many pages is it?
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. 31 story pages, which is
For
usually
$5?
well, 31 story pages is what you'd usually get for your $4 books. Then you get 6 pages of, you get 4 pages of sketches and scripts and things, and a little note from Hickman then at the very end as well. So it's a couple of pages of extra content, but yeah, it's a little expensive for what it is. But as I say, there are always just so many ideas bursting off the page. It's like, I really wish that I could always say a little more about S.H.I.E.L.D., but it usually just amounts to describing the high concept, because the single sentence that sums up the high concept is usually enough to convince somebody to buy it. Like, Archimedes in the Colossus of Rhodes fighting a Kree sentry is like, yes! It's just 3 pages of the sentry and the Kree fighting with Archimedes just going, "Arr!" As he pulls levers and pulleys and wooden handles and things inside it. Like,
So is the Shield? Is that series? Is that ended yet, or is this just?
It was a 6-issue first volume. The collection of that should be out. In fact, the collection is out this week. Volume 1 of S.H.I.E.L.D. out in hardback this week. So everybody should buy that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Volume
kind of want
2
that.
Volume 2 starts in a month or two, I want to say. Yeah, I'm going to say a month or two. So, yeah, you'll not be able to just jump straight into Volume 2 or anything, because it is just going to very much pick up from what was going on in Volume 1. Volume 1 was all questions and mysteries. Hickman says in the thing here, find yourself wondering what the human machine is, wondering about who will actually win, want to know exactly what Michelangelo, Newton, and Da Vinci's goals are, curious about why this book is structured the way it is. It's all coming.
Man, I hope like Doctor Doom travels back in time and he like helps him out or something. That would be awesome.
Well, we've had the only like real recognizable Marvel characters we've had are Reed Richards and Tony Stark's dads, who were agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But they are presently trapped in the ruins of Immortus' citadel in the future, fighting Nikola Tesla.
Awesome.
And if that sentence doesn't make you want to read it, I can do nothing for you.
Awesome. It's like you should be writing checks to Grant Morrison or something. That's just so awesome.
I mean, it is always a fair criticism now of S.H.I.E.L.D. That there is a question, how long do you give a book before it starts making sense? How long can you let it ride on its high concept without actually doing anything with it? And I could absolutely understand why somebody's
paying for it.
Well, I could absolutely understand why somebody would have lost patience with S.H.I.E.L.D. after 6 bi-monthly issues. Like, that's a year, you know? But it's like every time I open it and there's always some ridiculous shit being flung at me, it's always enough to keep me going, oh, for God's sake, what next? You know, I want to see what's going to, you know, the final issue of the series was Michelangelo. The issue before that, we found out the Night Machine was Nikola Tesla. The whole thing with Celestials, fetuses, the world being saved from being eaten by a Celestial when charmed through poetry. Stuff like that. Every issue contains something crazy that just made me want to read more about it. And it's Hickman, you know? You can't go wrong.
Yeah. I'd love to read something by Hickman that's not Fantastic Four. That's what I want, because I haven't watched it yet.
Secret Warriors is also only 2 issues away from ending, so you should read that whole thing when it comes down. Because like this week's issue of Secret Warriors, which I'm not going to talk about, but it's called Wheels Within Wheels for a reason. As Baron Strucker and Nick Fury are locked in a room together, and all the shit comes out. Nick Fury is the stone coldest, badassest motherfucker that ever done lived under Hickman's pen. So, well worth reading. Now, the thing I'm actually going to talk about that I could give myself a lot of time over to is Journey to Mystery, number 622.
Yay!
Ooh.
Triplet and Nicole, you both read this. JD, you're dead inside.
Yeah.
Or poor. I mean,
I
you have a choice there.
I had to read this because, okay, so Thor has ended, and there's a new Thor comic coming out, and this is now the replacement. So I had to read it to see if I want to keep getting it. So
This
that's why I
picks
picked
up
it
Thor's numbering, yeah. Thor ended on 621, and then later on this month we've got the Mighty Thor #1. This is what they did with Iron Man. They launched the Invincible Iron Man #1, and Iron Man turned into a War Machine title. And it's what they're doing with Captain America in July as well, where Captain America is turning into Captain America and Bucky, and a new Captain America is launching. I'm not sure what the title of it is yet. Probably the First Avenger or the Mighty Avenger or something like that.
First of it. Yeah, I could see that happening.
Something like that. But where War Machine was short for this world, and I can't see a Captain America Bucky series set in the war lasting very long.
Nope.
I will weep tears of blood if this gets cancelled.
Yeah. The idea of a book that like stars all the other Asgardians and tells you what's going on with them, it just sounds too awesome not to read.
Now, this is a Loki book so far.
Yeah.
This issue is a Loki issue. And
I have no complaint about that. I love Loki.
Yeah. The
Loki.
key thing about this is that this is written by Kieran Gillen, who was the writer on Thor that we were doing a lot of praising of, who filled in between Straczynski and Matt Fraction. He had the very unenviable task of picking up the pieces after Straczynski flipped the table over while he stomped out and putting them where they needed to be for Siege to happen. And then when Matt Fraction wasn't ready to start yet, write a filler to keep things going until he was. And the filler, he did a very good job on the Straczynski Siege patch-up. And then his filler was awesome, in which Thor went to hell. And he also wrote a Siege Loki one-shot, which I believe I talked about back when it actually came out, which turns out is really important in the grand scheme of things as well. Because, I don't know what if Matt Fraction had this in mind whenever he was writing. When Matt Fraction brought Loki back as a child, I don't know if he had in mind what Gillen had just done with Loki beforehand. But if he didn't, that just makes Gillen even better because of what he does in the span of this story. And frankly, I could sit here and I could just do a dramatic reading of the first couple of pages of this comic.
Yeah.
Because it is so very Neil Gaiman-y. The approach this takes, which is the same approach that the Hell story took, is that it's presented as a tale told. And it's the same approach that the Loki miniseries that Roberto Sacasa did, that we've talked about on the show before recently. It's the same approach that it took. Just using the idea, presenting it as a tale told in the way that in the way that myths were, because myths weren't written down. Myths were passed down the spoken word, and that's the sort of approach this takes. Where the Loki miniseries took that idea and explored it a little bit, the idea that these things may not have actually been how they happen because the spoken word changes with every retelling, and that was the thrust behind some of the ideas in the Loki series. This takes an almost congenial tone in its telling. A writer of less flair could have taken this and turned this issue into a graphic novel, into a 6-issue story to be collected in graphic novel. But instead, it's something that you could imagine sitting in front of some old Viking king as he told this story to the subjects. Okay, can we have a couple of minutes? I just want to read this.
Yes,
I think
McFeely.
this is a wonderful success.
It's story
of this.
time by McFeely! Yay!
Do it.
It really makes
Do
makes
it
me
in
want
your
to read it.
Asgardian voice.
Oh, I will. But it
Here we
really
go,
makes me
folks.
want to read it out because it's presented. I keep saying it's a tale told. It's presented as read out, and the language used just makes me want to read it. So I'm just hang on. Well, I guess it's the first couple. Okay. Why did Loki do it? No one knows. He faced a mad creature with the power of a star piled upon star, a creature he brought down upon Asgard, a creature which brought down Asgard. He faced it and was reduced to a scream on the wind, shrill enough to draw tears from those who prayed for his death. 7 magpies looked back at the remains of the earthly Asgard, listened carefully, and, satisfied, took to the sky, for they had far to go. The first magpie stopped to mourn,
A god's death, even a wicked god like Loki, was no small thing, and a bird's heart, the smallest of things, couldn't hope to contain it. The rest, they flew on. The second magpie left after days at sea. The magpie knew oceans are endless and all oceans are one, so on one shore there would be the beach where in his youth he saw the hen who left him eternally aflutter. The rest, they flew on. They lost the third in Alfheim, where he stopped to feed from the eyes of a fallen elf girl, torn apart like an over-optimistic dream. He couldn't bear for eyes so pure to stare up at an uncaring sky forever. The rest, they mocked him. You're not a carrion eater, you fool, they chirped. You're not a stupid raven, stupid bird, before flying on. The fourth died of shock without warning, falling from the sky with an empty breast. Thor had returned Loki to life, to youth. What was the Odin's son thinking? The magpie choked out in the language of the birds before passing. I'm sure he knows what he's doing, said another magpie, not entirely convinced, before flying on. The fifth was shot with an arrow of purest silver when passing through Hela's Valhalla. The silver in heaven is so pure that he barely felt a thing. The remaining magpies were getting worried. Yet what could they do but fly on? The sixth died in hell.
Yep.
The last turned for home. After certain other trips that do not require further elaboration in our present narrative. And it kind of goes from there.
Wow. Yeah. That's like just the beginning of this.
That is the first 3 pages of this.
Feels like we should have had Masterpiece Theater music before this.
Yeah.
But that is layered with about 3 meanings, because I took a while. I reread it a couple of times. I read that out to myself because that's just what it made me want to do. But everybody knows the magpie nursery rhyme: 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, etc., etc.
No, we're Americans. We don't know that one.
Really? You guys don't know that?
No.
I've heard of it, but I can't quote it for you.
God, you're fucking heathens, Jesus.
I know it. I know
Hey,
it.
come on. All right. Of the people in the chat that are American, how many of you even know what a magpie is?
I know what a magpie is. I hate them. They're evil devil birds.
Okay, see?
Okay, well,
But,
the
come on.
nursery rhyme then. The nursery rhyme goes: 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for girl, 4 for a boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret never to be told.
Oh, I know that. Okay. Yeah, I've heard that.
There is also an alternate version of it, which goes: 1 for sorrow, 2 for mirth, 3 for a wedding, 4 for a birth, 4 for... hang on, I've lost it now. I had a version of it here. Where was it? 1 for sorrow, 2 for mirth, 3 for a wedding, 4 for a birth, 5 for heaven, 6 for hell, 7 for the devil, his own self. And, no, I hadn't heard that one either. This was a discussion I had with somebody else that prompted this. But every one of those magpies corresponds to both versions of this nursery rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Nice.
The first magpie stops to mourn for Loki, sorrow. The second magpie leaves to fly off to find the young bird that he loved when he was younger. That's your joy. The third one, 3 for a girl, or 3 for
Wedding.
Okay,
Wedding said.
I'm actually wrong about the wedding part. Then, well, 3. Well, the bird stops to eat the dead girl's eyes.
Girl. Yeah, I was gonna say there's a girl there.
Yeah.
4 for a boy is when Loki comes back to life as a young boy. 5 for silver, shot with a silver arrow while passing through heaven. 6 for gold, hell dies in a plume of golden fire in hell. And then 7 for...
That was on the second verse that you said, though.
I may have been over optimistic in the second reading of it, but definitely the first version it lines up with. And then 7 for the secret is where the story actually begins.
Cool.
I just have a hatred for magpies, so...
They are nasty creatures.
They are. They kill my goldfish and baby ducklings. How rude.
God.
Wow. That is kind of rude.
But the wondrous juxtaposition of this whole story is that we've had these 4 pages of wonderful mythic narrative, and the next page is Loki on 4chan.
Awesome.
What? I'm sorry. You need to say that again.
After all of that, the last magpie returns to Asgard, perches on a windowsill, and it says, "The journey into mystery was about to begin. Or it could have, if young Master Loki was where he was meant to be." And we cut to Loki sitting on a rock, on a BlackBerry or whatever, a Stark phone, and he's posted a picture of the World Tree on an image board, and Lensman47 has replied to it going, "Awesome, what filter is that?" And Loki of Asgard says, "There's no filter. Obvious fake is obvious. Stop lying. I'm not." And then it just cuts to Loki on his phone going, Why do people always presume I'm lying?
That's awesome.
Can I say how much I like Little Loki?
Yeah.
Little Loki is great.
Little Loki's awesome. Oh, keep him as a little boy, please.
I know,
wow.
I hope so.
Especially if Gillen can keep doing this stuff with him. But Loki is, unsurprisingly, being harassed by the other Asgardians because he's freaking Loki. But Thor comes along to break this stuff, and they have a talk. And it's like, to speak more generally about the book, it is so full of this rich mythical narrative, but it sets it alongside, just perfectly juxtaposes it with real, Marvel Universe superhero stuff and moments of brilliantly well-judged comedy. Loki, is like, Thor wants to know where he got the Stark phone from, and Loki says, "From the merchants of Broxton. I bought it." "And how did you pay for it, brother?" "With gold. They seemed pleased with the deal." "And where did you get the gold from?" "I got it off the dwarves. Before you ask, we were gambling." "Were you cheating?" "Yes, but they were too. Cheating was the game, and I triumphed unfairly, most fairly." "I do not think I approve." It's like he's a little trickster. Even in this innocent, youthful state, everything he says is a little squirming worm of a sentence that winds around everything for us.
The thing is, who was the artist on this?
Doug Braithwaite.
Okay,
This is
there's
the guy
certain
who-
images of Loki. He looks so sweet and innocent, but at the same time, that there's a little mischievous side to him, and they've captured both sides of him so well in these pictures.
You really do feel mischief from him. You don't feel malice. There's genuine, impish mischief in him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love this comment, too, that he says when he says, Thor says, "I do not think I approve." And he says, "There was no harm unlike this. The humans of the internet that are uncouth. When I said I was an Asgardian god, they called me a troll." And he says, and Thor says, "But you're a half giant." Thor says, "You're a half giant." And Loki says, "Exactly. They would accept that."
I love the silent panel beforehand. They called me a troll. "But you're a half giant." "I know."
It's so fun.
It's so good. I like this.
And then we got the Warriors 3 are mucking about. We just get a brief shot of them as well, Volstagg complaining, Volstagg going, "We could kill him." "Stop your jests, he is a child." "I would stomp a nest of viper eggs and think nothing of it." "You would never stomp eggs when you could scramble them in a skillet." "Well, I could eat Loki, there would be no evidence." "A perfect crime."
Awesome.
So Loki goes back to his room where the single magpie waits for him and promptly explodes upon his laying eyes on it, leaving behind a key. And then, in just an absolutely masterful 2-page spread, Loki takes this key, unlocks a treasure chest, which finds a key, which he takes to the elves, who give him they give him a secret spell, which he goes out into the desert and summons a demon, which explodes.
And he also says "gross" both times when the magpie explodes. Yes.
And then he cooks the demon's carcass and feeds it to Volstagg, which
God.
causes Volstagg to talk in his sleep. And the strange mumblings that Volstagg say in his sleep leads Loki to the nest of a dragon, where the dragon gives him a message in the dragon's language, where it dies. But by this point, Loki was thankful it didn't explode. And it says something in like the tongue of the dragons, and the old tongue was not known to young Loki. It was a difficult study. It took him a whole evening to learn.
Yeah.
And he unravels it as the final clue that you need. And that is in 2 pages, because it is presented as, it's like I say, it's a story that it's not a story that we are reading. It's a story that we are being told, as if round the firelight or gathered for the latest rendition of the myth to be handed down to the next generation. This is, you don't linger on these bits, you gloss over it. There's a very specific line in here. And the words that rumbled from that great chest led Loki to a cave, past traps too diverse and various to be recounted in this humble telling. It just swooshes over it in such a grand, sweeping style, where, like I said, a writer of less skill or flair would have just made the quest, the story, and done a different issue, finding each one of these different steps and made the whole thing a graphic novel. This is so much better than this. Well, I grant you this is a pure hypothetical I'm cooking up, but, you can absolutely see how somebody would have done that. But this is better. And Loki goes to he finds the book on the siege of Asgard, and the dragon's mystery translates as, you must look for the answer in the final question. And in reading the last sentence of the book, he finds himself sucked into a black void where Loki's old helmet and a magpie wait for him.
I love that picture right there.
Oh, yeah. Hello, Mr. Magpie. And we get the answer that this magpie is the essence of Loki. That at the moment of his death, he enacted this enchantment or this spell and sealed this bit of himself away. Where am I? What are you precisely? I am the echo of a scream. This room is hidden behind a whim, buried in a daydream, covered in bad thoughts and malice. To find it involves a little reading and even proper punctuation. It is a place I would never locate. And it's a message he has saved for himself, because this is what we find out. That when Siege happened, Bendis, for all the good he's ever done, years later now, still doesn't have a clue how to write Thor or the Asgardians. He just can't do it. He's never accomplished it well. And when he wrote Siege, he wrote it as Loki calls Norman Osborn down on down on Asgard for shits and giggles. Then things get out of hand, and he dies saving it. And that was it. That was Bendis' Siege. That was it. Shits and giggles by Loki. But Gillen was doing all these different things. Like we learned in the Siege Loki one-shot that his basic idea was that Loki felt trapped by the cycle that he was caught in, that he could never be anything but Loki, that he would always have to be this god of mischief and evil who would always do these things, that his way couldn't be changed because that's who the tales and the legends and the legacies and the destinies said that he was, that it was inescapable. And coupling that with the machinations that he wrought upon Mephisto and Hela in the course of the story to Hell, which culminated with him annoying them so much that he got himself, I can't remember if it was through annoyance or if it was actually part of the bargains he struck with them, but he got himself written out of the books of Hell, so that when he died in Siege, he would not go, he would not pass on. And that is why he came back as a child. I don't know if Fraction was working off of that deliberately to do that, but that's what he did. And Gillen has come back around, taken all of this, and combined it here to show that Loki actually engineered his reincarnation as a child from beyond death in an attempt to escape the cycle that he found himself trapped in. And, dude, how awesome is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this little echo of Loki is the thing that will act as his advisor. And it takes the form of a magpie and perches upon his arm.
Which is like a not a pseudonym, where they mix up the letters of his own name.
Yeah, he calls him. What does he call him?
Ikol. Ikol.
So it's backwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are now Ikol, my opposite bird of mine, pet supreme. You are an ear whisperer and a worm eater. You will tell me what I want and nothing more.
Which is interesting because even that is like
an echo of Odin and his ravens.
Yeah, and the
absolutely.
Ravens. So,
And then
why didn't
the
I
comic
pick this
ends
up?
with, that's what I'm asking you, buddy.
Yeah,
I don't know
sure.
why. I mean, this is your kind of book. I don't know why you
I
didn't pick
know.
this
This
Oh,
is so
wow.
up your alley, JD.
Man,
It
I
is
missed
so
out.
entrenched.
Yeah.
Then
You
the
can
last
still pick it up
page
because
is-
it's very well done. It's beautiful.
Yep.
So,
Wow.
The last couple of pages then are Odin and Thor's fight and the god's departure from Fear itself, because this is notionally a Fear itself tie-in. Don't know exactly where the next issue is going to go, but I mean, as I say, this could have been a story arc in and of itself. There is so much packed in here. Gorgeous to look at. Wonderful, high mythic presentation. Perfectly matched with the fact that this is a Marvel Universe story. They don't dodge around that. They weave it in there beautifully and seamlessly, with moments of amazingly well-timed comedy that you wouldn't have thought you could have wrung out of this story. Done with so much skill.
I was going to say, Thor on the last page looks like he's in more pain than he was in Fear itself.
Yeah, that's true.
It looks very painful.
Just everything about this.
Yeah,
is
JD,
good.
you got to go pick this up. It's,
Yeah.
it's great.
And before we leave it, I wanted to mention what Loki basically says to himself. He says when he's having the conversation, I should tell Thor or Odin. And the old Loki says, yes, you should. And then young Loki says, if I wanted to be killed, I should. If I should, Thor couldn't keep them from my head. They think me part of some plan, a scheme beyond the grave. So he's like, he's trying to decide whether or not he should tell him or not. And he decides he's not gonna. He's not gonna tell him. So where's this going?
Yeah, there's like, can he escape? It's like, what is it he says is how he concludes this. And you would offer me advice? Yes, but you should not pay it heed. Knowledge is what I have, and what you should take. Lifetime upon lifetime of mysteries packed into this spirit by your dead older self. I will be whatever you wish. And little Loki says, what I wish is to be Loki.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even know what that means. Like,
Yeah.
But again, he's got that good mischievous look on his face on that last page. You're just like, oh, here we go. Fun time with Loki.
It's like, if there's one thing I could possibly say against it, and I have to reach in order to do it, it is the fact that I'm not sure how new reader friendly it is. Because it is very, very heavily steeped in the last year of Thor continuity and cosmology. I mean, this is pretty much a direct continuation of what Gillen was doing with the book before Fraction, even incorporating elements of what Fraction did. I mean, again, Gillen proved his strength at being able to pick up the threads of other writers whenever he stepped in to fill in for Straczynski. But now he's getting a chance to do it for himself, and again, it's masterful use of continuity as your tool, not your weapon. And
Well, the thing is, I've just
always
barely been reading Thor. I mean, I picked up Thor, 2 months ago? Because I'm like, well, I better start reading it for the movie, And so, yeah, this was easy for me to read. It's kind of like an introduction. I mean, because you could see past Loki in it. You understand what he was like. So, but of course,
if you've been listening to this show, you're probably
well, I know about the Norse mythology too, so that might be a little bit for help, from me. But yeah, I think it's an easy read for a first timer. It's a great introduction of Loki.
It is very, very heavily steeped in Thor continuity. I think it's all laid out in such as a way that it is accessible. But, definitely somebody who's read more and can connect the dots through things they've established rather than just things they have to read about will probably get more out of it. But as I say, if you've been listening to this show for the last however long, you probably have all the info you need to pick it up and read it. Plus, I've just told you all about it anyway, so you're not going to get too confused by that. Absolute, total pick of the week, best book of the week. For the love of God, buy it. I will buy if this goes the way of War Machine, or pardon my pessimism, the way Bucky and Captain America is almost certain to go. This will be a loss to civilization. This must persevere. It is a light week of comics next week. There is not that much out. If this is still on the shelf in your store, for Christ's sake, buy it. It is fantastic. It is going to be the Asgardian book God damn it, buy it. Seriously, you guys.
I think it's awesome, but yeah, I think it may disappear.
Don't say it.
I'm just saying.
The words.
I'm thinking.
Don't
I'm thinking
speak
that.
the words.
I'm sorry, but it's awesome. But like you were saying, when we like something, isn't that when it usually goes away or something?
We still have Secret Six.
We
We still have
Cheers.
Secret Six. I mean, come on. So no, there's hope.
Yeah,
I think
JD,
there's hope.
Seriously, buy it.
Yeah.
It is your kind of book.
Yeah,
I know
I'll check it out.
You were never quite able to jump on Thor, but like, just do it.
Okay.
This is your thing. Get it? Read it seriously.
Okay.
I liked it.
All
Of
right.
the week.
Well, let's move this show to its ultimate conclusion, as we're gonna top it off with Amazing Spider-Man 658. I wanted to talk about this one at the top of the show, or end of the show, rather. I always say top. I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm taken to saying that too. Not myself.
That's me. But anyway.
It's the top topic.
Yes, it's the top, it's the end, it's the capper, if you will.
It's the end all of end all.
Yes.
No, I guess that's not it. either.
This discussion
Anyway.
would be a bit brief.
So this is more Spider-Man tying into FF Future Foundation. This is going to be Spider-Man.
if the
working-
cover didn't give it away.
No, yeah. So
Look, I picked it up. My very first Spider-Man.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
everybody give Nicole a round of applause.
nice, very good. Yay.
You should have picked it up a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, because I don't know. We'll see. We're going to get into this, and we'll kind of see. I think there's some points for discussion, if you will. Let's see. So we start off.
Well, I think we can spare a complete retelling of this one because.
Well, no, I'm not going to go all the way.
Spidey goes on wacky adventures throughout space and time.
No, we won't get into
effort.
all of that.
Yeah.
But I do want to mention, beginning of this comic, please turn on your Barry White, because Peter and Carly are going to get it on.
Oh,
Get it on.
Let's get it on. Let's get it on. No. Well, they were anyway, until the FF signal
The,
shows
what?
in the sky.
The triangle-y looking. I don't know what
Yes,
that is
the
actually.
It's 3 hexagons. Yeah. But conveniently for Peter, Carly has to go as well. So it works out.
superhero cock
Now-
block.
She's sort of like the perfect Spider-Man girlfriend because like he always has to leave to go do something, and she's always got to leave and go do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
She's like,
That works
she's
out.
as randomly busy as he is. So other than
Yeah.
getting laid,
Yeah,
it's
other
convenient.
than yeah.
But now,
Just
mind
actually,
you, so
just, I want to mention the art here. Last issue
Yes.
was Marcos Martin's final issue of Amazing Spider-Man. But when I opened this issue, I had to flip back a page to check who
Yeah.
was doing.
yes, I've done that
Javier
twice.
Polito was doing the art, and he's doing a bang.
I
on
saw
with
the art.
batshit.
I had to do a double take myself. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I have literally checked that twice because I really couldn't believe.
Like,
Like,
maybe
is that like
maybe you just
Ghost
did a
Rider?
couple of pages or
Is that
something.
like a ghost pen? Like it's really him, and then he's got this alternate name or something? I don't know. Anyway, the art's still
I
really
know
good.
this artist.
Yeah, good stuff. So anyway, yeah. So here's my first point of, we'll call it contention. Anyway, so Peter has to go back to Horizon to get his costume, and has a moment where he gets stalled there for a second, and then grabs his costume and heads to go to the Baxter building to meet up with the FF. And he shows up, and here's where I went, what? He's in a Fantastic Four costume. Now, if you have only read Amazing Spider-Man, this will not bother you in the least.
No.
No, because you're at the point that you're at, Peter's just joined Fantastic Four. So this makes sense for him to show up in a Fantastic Four costume, and then they go through this whole deal where they tell him, no, we've retired those, and they give him his FF costume, and there's some hilarity that ensues from that, comments and whatnot.
I look like Anti-Venom.
Yeah, Anti-Venom, which I thought was funny.
I like that. That was awesome.
The problem here, it only completely contradicts the first issue of FF.
Truly.
Like, entirely. Like,
Well, I mean, it doesn't. it doesn't contradict it.
No.
It just presents Spidey as really contrary.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like, went on a mission with the FF in the first issue of FF, then is like, no, here's a new costume. Don't fucking wear that. Oh, okay, I'll put this back on, and now decide to complain about my black and white costume.
But
I think it's pretty obvious that Dan Slott scripted this to be his first mission with the FF. He arrives, he gets given his new costume, and he mopes about it a little, and then they go off. But because FF, #1, presented that as Spider-Man's first day, this issue then had to be... Well, the height of the rewriting is for Mr. Fantastic to say, you left your uniform last time.
Yeah.
To establish that this does come after FF #1, and just sort of go from there. But it is a little on the wobbly side, it must be said.
yeah, it does seem like that line had to be changed or something, because it just doesn't...
But much like a Batman comic written by somebody who is not Grant Morrison when Grant Morrison was shaping the future of Batman, this comic not written by Jonathan Hickman probably means very little to the grand story he's shaping for Fantastic Four.
Yeah. And that's where like the rest of this goes. It just doesn't... It doesn't flow into the FF stuff. I don't know.
No.
It felt like the last issue we got was what, the Remembering Johnny Storm issue. Was that the last one? It felt like the sequel to that, because that issue was a bunch of short stories with he goes on adventures with the Fantastic Four, and what is this? Bunch of random adventures with the Fantastic Four. I mean, it feels like very much the same issue, except for the in between we're continuing Spidey plot stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Carly's in it.
He's trying to get a hold of Carly to say, hey, don't wait up, or whatever.
Yeah.
And,
they go to round up dinosaurs in Paris.
Yeah.
I admittedly, I mean, I do love Super Ego, the living atom.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know none of you guys read Deadpool, but Deadpool not too very long ago gave us Id the Living Moon.
Oh my god.
So we've completed the trinity this month with Super Ego, the living atom.
Oh, and my favorite thing in the comic may be in France when the mime tries to bother the hell out of the thing, and the invisible woman encases him in an invisible block, as you can see, and he's screaming his head off, "Oh dear God, it's closing in on me, help!" And everybody's like, he's very good, but I thought they weren't supposed to talk.
And then Psycho Man and...
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It's like, by the way, Psycho Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's building to something, because I know Psycho Man's appeared in the solicitations for future issues, but and then they go into the future, into a space station made of
the future foundation.
The future foundation. Yeah.
Oh my god. It's like, I don't want to say that it's making fun of it, but in some ways it almost... I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's, yeah.
Well, these are great little moments. It's just that the problem is that that's all it is. It's like great little moments, and it doesn't feel like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like an Amazing Spider-Man issue that we've been getting.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dan Slott has proven in the past that he writes very good Fantastic Four. When he wrote The Thing, the sadly very short-lived Thing miniseries, he writes a very good Fantastic Four, and it was a hell of a lot better than a lot of Fantastic Four had been at the time that came out, because that came out in the mouth of Straczynski's stuff. But this is him just really going full bore with the rather chintzy, campy Fantastic Four adventures, which there's nothing wrong with. I love those as much as anybody else, but it just seems very contrary to what is going on with the Fantastic Four at the minute. I don't hold it against him or anything, and it's like...
And it even feels kind of contrary to what's going on in Spider-Man,
Yeah.
This issue...
was Spidey said, no one's dying on my watch. And then right after what happens? He's going on some crazy Fantastic Four adventures. He's wearing his Fantastic Four costume and getting blessed out for it. I mean, it just seems weird.
It seems a bit forced.
Well,
I don't know.
Last issue felt... Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say that's what I was telling JD before we started the show. I'm like, I think I picked up the new issue of the Amazing Spider-Man, but I'm not sure because it sounded like what Triplet was reporting on last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last issue, the morning issue, was like we said, it was the moment of levity that the story required, and that was it was a nice break for Spidey given what he was dealing with at the moment. But this feels a little bit like taking that moment of levity and carrying on with it a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like we should. I mean, I definitely applaud the book for wanting to incorporate the Future Foundation in it. It should be doing that, to fully exploit the shared universe and the fact that this is the team Spidey is on now. A good writer, and as I say, a writer who uses continuity as a tool, not a weapon. This is what the sort of thing he should be doing. But it feels ill-timed, shall we say. It's not the sort of story Spidey really feels like he should be having right now. The funeral was the break from what was going on, and I really feel like we should be getting back to that rather than larking around the universe the way we are here.
Yeah, this should have been the issue that got us back into what's going on with Spidey, and it's not. It's like this is like a kind of lost chapter of FF. It doesn't really fit anywhere. It doesn't fit anywhere.
This is
really.
Dan Slott Spidey, featuring featuring Dan Slott written Fantastic Four, and they're the Future Foundation. I should be loving this to death, but it hasn't. It has quite succeeded. I think the most interesting stuff is the stuff that's going on with Carly back at home.
Yes,
because this here, like this criminal is willing to, introduce us to this new character, the Wraith. We haven't seen him or her or whoever it is.
They sound like
Batman.
Batman,
they say it's a she, but it's like it's some terror of the night that this guy is completely willing to roll over to the cops.
It's Batman. Batman's gonna break my legs.
That is more interesting to me, which is weird because this, all of this crazy fun stuff is the sort of stuff Dan Slott has always done well and stuff I've loved Dan Slott for. But just for whatever reason, I think it was like you were saying, JD. It's like it would probably be better if we weren't all reading FF.
Yeah, I think, and that seems to be like I've kind of watched some of the reviews and stuff coming out, and it seems to be a lot of the really avid Spider-Man fans really think this is great. But I think that those of us that are reading FF as well, I think it's like.
Well, don't get me wrong. It's not bad. I mean, it's fun. There's some great stuff in here. Future Foundation. Okay.
It just doesn't.
Oh my God. But I've just looked at this Future Foundation properly. Oh God, that's one of those optical. I can't remember what you call them.
Yeah, it's an impossible. It's a paradox.
Yeah, it's an impossible picture. I didn't even notice that. I had to hold it out.
No, I was looking at that. That was one of the first things I'm like tracing out. I'm like, wait.
Yeah,
wait.
It's an impossible.
That's cool, actually. Yeah. That's a very Hickman-y sort of thing. It's like it's as much as I think that this is not quite the sort of story that should be happening in Spidey now. I think that feeling is magnified by the fact that while it is a very classic sort of Fantastic Four style of story, it's also not the type of story that's happening with the Fantastic Four either. This is a very retro thing, which is trying to marry itself to like the march forward for all of these characters into their new era, and it just doesn't sit right with me. It's still good, definitely. I'm not going to sit here and just spoil it, feeling bad.
This is one of those that you could probably
better than most things going on, but
this is one of those you could probably pick up in 3 years or so and be like, oh, that's fun, and not But it's just like in the moment right now, it just feels out of place, I guess.
There's also a possibly amusing Ghost Rider backup in this as well.
And Peter might be in a little bit of trouble with Carly. We'll just say that, maybe. I don't know.
Do we want to spoil what's going on at the end of the issue with Carly, or
we'll just leave that. We'll just say
leave that.
Might be in a little bit of trouble.
Some interesting stuff happening in the next issue. It looks like.
I kind of skimmed through this Ghost Rider stuff.
To be honest, it didn't really catch my attention because Slott didn't write it.
No.
What I know what I'm looking here at is a backdoor pilot for the new Ghost Rider series that's about to launch in a month or two because it's written by the same guy. That's all I'm looking at.
Do we want to place bets on how long that series will last?
I mean,
I've got
that
dibs.
seems like it should be included alongside the Big Shots lineup, which there's an ad for it.
Yeah,
in,
which is not gonna.
issued.
Yeah,
They
the big
really
shot
got-
stuff
he-
will work. This
Ghost
I've
Rider
got dibs on
is
3
a street
months.
level urban hero, so it really feels like it should. Well,
Yeah.
sorry, what did you say?
I've got dibs on 3 months. New
Oh,
Ghost
nothing's
Rider
ever canceled that
will last
quickly. Yeah.
3 months.
I would give it a year.
You think a year?
I
How long
wouldn't
did
even give it that.
Ghost
Spider
Rider
Girl
is Ghost
last?
Rider, so people will pick it up. I definitely think it'll beat out the 6-month limit, but given the just recent successes of Ghost Rider and the fact that they really haven't tried to push this relaunch, aside from a backup in an issue of Spidey, whenever they're doing all of this Big Shot stuff to hype the launch of the other 3,
Yeah, Ghost
Yeah.
Rider should so
Hunting.
be in that. That would make
Yeah.
so much sense.
Yeah.
and they seem to
I
just
guess
let-
nobody of big name, I guess, maybe wanted to write it. Is the problem?
Yeah, that's
The
probably
other,
what
the others is like Mark
Yeah.
Wade. It's Greg Rucka,
Rucka.
and who's the other? It's Bendis, isn't it?
Bendis. Yeah,
Bendis.
Bendis on Moon Knight. Yep.
So now,
I
if it was like
think-
if it was Grant Morrison doing Ghost Rider, he would be in that.
I
ad.
would read that.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
no.
I mean, it's like I don't remember. I think we only learned it earlier this week. Namor, the Namor ongoing has been cancelled
Yep.
with issue 11. It didn't even make it to here. They didn't even
I-
give it the year.
Honestly,
I mean,
didn't
I'm
know
so
there was a
shocked.
monthly. I did
I
not know there was a
so-
monthly.
Yeah. it kicked off with Curse of the Mutants tie-in, which is the only reason it made it to the issue it did. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking whenever they launched that. Ghost Rider at least makes sense. You know, Ghost Rider has had a little bit of a cooling off period. Frankly, feels like he could use more of a one. So, you know, and to be fair, this little backup is passably amusing. Basically, a demonic repo man turns up to repossess Ghost Rider's motorcycle because he hasn't been using it to collect souls for Hale, and Spidey grabs it and runs off with it.
So are we
but-
getting a new Ghost Rider then, I guess?
What we need is we need
Spider.
Dan Ketch as Ghost Rider. I would buy that book.
Who?
Bring me
I
Dan
wouldn't
Ketch.
carry it around.
Oh, yeah.
Dan Ketch. My
this
19
is
I
John-
do feel like a Dan Ketch Ghost Rider would probably get more readers in because most people who are reading comics now are the younger people who started in the 90s, I
Mhm.
think. I don't know, I think that's fair.
I mean, it was my Ghost Rider. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't know who Johnny Blaze
the
was.
Ghost Rider of most people reading comics. It's like with Barry Allen and The Flash, you know?
Yeah.
Dan Ketch, Johnny Blaze died in the late 70s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Early 80s, you know? So he was never Ghost Rider to a big part. So the fact that for reasons that I've never actually been able to understand, they decided it was worth bringing Johnny Blaze back. I don't know why they did. I don't know what stories they felt they could only tell with Johnny.
Isn't that
and
the
not-
character that's in the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Nicolas Cage is the character that's in the
I mean-
film.
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
They've called
that
him
makes-
Johnny
that makes
Blaze, but he's
sense.
playing that one dude Nicolas Cage always played.
That's how I was introduced to Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
It
Well,
makes
and see, and that may be, you know,
It's classic Ghost Rider, so it makes sense.
Well,
Man, I prefer Dan Ketch because that was my Ghost Rider. I
And you
was into the
typically-
1990 comic.
I mean, in terms of writing and production, right, it's always a little bit off, right? Because you have, like, your mainstream readers, and then you have your mainstream writers. And your writers tend to be about 10 years ahead, maybe, of your readers. So the writers at this point, you know, now are going to be the writers that were in during the Johnny Blaze time, even though the readers are at
Well,
the
I don't
Dan
know,
Ketch
because it
time,
was
you know.
Garth Ennis who brought Johnny Blaze back, so I think Garth Ennis just wanted to explore. No, actually, that's a complete lie. It was whoever wrote The Hammer Lane brought Johnny Blaze back. But Garth Ennis continued using Johnny Blaze when he did a miniseries, and I think he really wanted to explore the concepts of him escaping hell and the contract he'd made with the devil, which Danny never did. So that was a whole different aspect, I suppose, they felt they could explore by bringing him back. But, you know, I mean, I agree with Triplet. I think a Dan Ketch Ghost Rider series would bring in more numbers than a Johnny Blaze.
Or maybe
And I
just a
liked
new-
I liked his motorcycle better too.
Yeah, he did
Just-
have
Yeah.
a cool
It's
motorcycle.
Yeah.
Besides, it was Dan Ketch that had that awesome, you know, team up with Cable. Back in
What are you
the-
talking? It was the 90s. I mean, that's-
Everybody teamed up with Cable in the 90s. Everybody teamed up with Ghost Rider in the
Hell,
90s.
Ghost Rider teamed up with X Factor in the issue.
Come
Why
on,
was he
how
teaming up with X Factor?
Oh man.
We have digressed slightly.
Yeah, but anyway, Amazing Spider-Man 658. Yeah. So anyway, good stuff. So next week will be a little light, I think.
Yeah, it is a light week next week, but we do have the finale of Brightest Day.
So, is that next week? Ooh.
Yes, that is next week.
That'll
But
be
you know what
exciting.
next week is, though? Next week is Easter. Are we doing a show next week?
Yes, we are.
Well, I think so. I
'Cause
don't plan to be
I
anywhere.
don't believe in Jesus. So, so he doesn't get to interrupt my show. So I will be here. I don't know about the rest of you. Will you all not be here? I don't know.
I'll be here.
I will make the best effort to be
Okay.
here.
It depends if I get off of work or not, because I have family coming to town. But
Okay.
we'll see.
All right. We'll make do if we have to without you. We'll think about
Let's
you.
try. Don't cry.
But fear not.
That's about really the only significant thing. I literally have 4 comics.
So, nope, I'll be
I
here.
I think I've got Avengers Academy, Brightest Day, and Transformers. I think that's all I have next week.
I'll need to get caught up on Uncanny X-Men. It'll be that episode.
Wow. Awesome. Okay. Well, there you go. So I'll mention again real quick, new Twitter feed, which is Fanboy VS. So at Fanboy VS. So follow us there for show updates and all kinds of awesome information coming down the line. We'll typically live tweet from the show, as we did today. So you'll get updates and stuff about what's coming up and what we're talking about, as well as news and things throughout the week. Be sure to check out comicnewsi.com, Comic News International. That's where we get most of the news for this show. That's where I got the rundown for the news this week. So they're great over there. I am still going to post a show over there eventually once I get with Bweebum and get my links back. So I need to do that. So Peter, if you're listening, which you're not, help. Anyway, so that's the show. Again, we thank you so much for joining us. Check out tfradio.net and all that awesome stuff. And please tune in next time when it'll be Fanboy Versus.
This has been Fanboy Versus with your hosts, J.D. Church, Chris McFeely, and Chris Triplett. Visit us at tfradio.net for show notes and to subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at tfradio for news and updates. Like the podcast? Leave us feedback on iTunes. Copyright 2010 Radio Free Cybertron.